What is up, everybody? It's Friday night. Listen, what a great show we've got for you guys tonight. And there's been a lot going on in the news. Before we get into all that greatness that's out there, and we talk about every single bit of news that's dropped this week, let me just say thanks to Ice Queen Gaming. Ice Queen's going to be listening to the show tomorrow. She went ahead and joined the channel. That means the world to me. Thank you, Ice Queen. Thank you so much. Shout out to Spooky, the breathtaking gamer. Great to have Spooky here. I appreciate that. That's my buddy there. Great to have him. Another New Yorker's always welcome in the chat. Great to have him here. I see everybody. Sergeant. I see X-Hawk, Talos. I saw the great Jimmy Harrison, who's going to be listening later as well. Jimmy gave a great super chat. The super chat's working. He says, not going to be here tonight, but wanted to send my shout out to you, brothers. Thank you so much. He goes, let's go. Guys, it means the world to me that everybody is here. Right above that description, I wrote a great description right there. You guys will see that. As you guys are kind of shuffling in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me. We're almost at 11,200. I think you guys are really liking that Last of Us coverage that we're doing on the channel. Channel's really grown with that. I've been trying to get a couple of videos out. As you can tell, that hasn't worked out well. But I've gotten to 2 podcasts now a week. So right above that great description of tonight's show, you'll see that join button. The channel keeps growing. Shout out to DC Gaming, who's also here. DC subbed. Gift subbed 5 different subs on 2 different weeks, giving 10 major Mooch Maniac membership channels to random folks in the chat. It means the world to me. Absolutely means the world to me. So shout out to DC Gaming. Thanks so much for everything you do. Guys, let me go ahead and just thank each one of these Mooch Maniac family members one by one as we kind of let the crowd shuffle in. Guys, tweet it out. Let everybody know we're live here in New York. I want to say thank you so much to the great Sir X-Man, JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming, Tyson Web 509, TrueWiddy, Big Chuck 777, Alphonso Carter, BRAP, who's under the weather tonight. Hope BRAP's feeling better. Jamie, Damion, the great Jimmy Harrison, Andy Hart, Isaac Gentry, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 05. Shout out to Ham. Ham was very gracious enough to have CrossFire playing in his gaming store last week. So shout out to Ham. Ham, thank you for the promotion. The great Rob Jones, Dad of War, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Kratos 99, who's phenomenal. Thumbs, JC 2013. Get this work. And of course, the great Ice Queen Gaming, our newest Mooch Maniac family member, our major Mooch Maniacs, Sergeant, you're going to correct me one way or the other. 12, Seattle Chef, Muck 45, Michael Kimona Jr., Nalo Origins, Newtonian, Truth Serum, Brosy Brosum, Raji, Chris 713, your boy Roy, Scalari Brothers, Smokes 901, Julian Johnson. Shout out to Julian, by the way. Just an outstanding individual. DC Gaming, shout out to DC. Miko, by the way, another great shout out to Kratos 99. Kratos, I'm going to read that in a second. Kratos, I almost fell out of my chair. Gaming with Persona and Jay Barry. Shout out to both of them who do What's Up PlayStation, 11 a.m. Eastern Time on Saturday mornings, guys. Go check them out tomorrow. The great Supreme Samurai, Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, 4-Star General, Brian B.A.K. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniacs, Domino Zero, Marty the Ambassador, Bison, Shadow Assassin, Strictly! Shout out to Strictly Gaming and the wise old gamer, and our honorable mentions. They're out there without food, water, or toilet. The great Jan Watkins, Percolator 9000, Archwar Angel, where'd you go? Hustle and Motivate, Slan Chalain, Dre Watson, a.k.a. D-Watt, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. Let me get to this. Kratos, thank you so much.
Shout out to Code, man.
Shout out to Code, absolutely. We remember him every week, Everborn, every single week. The man was just a plethora of knowledge. He was a great friend. Used to talk to him in the DMs all the time. And I love it because he'd come on and he'd go, Mooch, this is where you're right, and Mooch, this is where you're wrong. And I love to listen to him. Absolutely love to listen to him.
I
miss him so much.
I actually don't think I'd be in this community if it wasn't for Code. And, you know, he was a PlayStation guy. I'm mostly an Xbox guy, but nothing but love and respect for him. And he was the first one to embrace me in this community. And going back and forth with him is you know, why anybody knows me now in this community. So again, rest in peace to that guy. That was a true friend. We used to talk offline all the time. Shout out to Code.
No, and you know, Everborn, I'm glad you bring that up. We always discuss Code every week, bring his name up every week. But you know what? I'll be honest with you, the community doesn't feel the same, honestly, without him. There's such a void there without Optimus Code. So shout out to him and his family. And I'm a firm believer, and he's here with us every week. Anyways, he's here with us. He wouldn't miss a show. So shout out to the great Optimus Code. Shout out to Kratos 99 too. Kratos, thank you for that gracious super chat. You are You are a god amongst ants. I appreciate you. He says, "Sup, Mooch? I will catch the stream later, but I hope you have a great show tonight." Kratos, thank you so much for that. Another super chat here. Domino Zero, he says, "We bring you an important super chat sponsored by Mooch. Fly, Eagles, fly. You're going to kill me with that. And I know the damn Eagles are going to end up winning. I'm a Giants fan, guys. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm apologizing to myself. But you know what it is? It's hard, Domino. It's hard. I know you guys are probably going to walk away with it. But for this Sunday, I'm going to be a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. That being said, guys, let's get to this amazing panel that I have for you guys. I'll start with some of the return guests that you guys know. Again, BRAP's under the weather. Pardon me. Xbot448 is working currently. He's probably listening to this show, but he's working. And so is the great Gaming Forte. Maybe Forte can join us in a small amount of time. He generally will pop in when he can if he gets out early. So that's where the usual suspects are at tonight. But I'll start with the great Chris Righteous. Chris, you know, it's great to have you back on the show, and it just worked out. I was saying the same thing to Creative Kofi just before. Having you on this show tonight, especially after the games that have released, the games that have been announced, it's just a pleasure to have you on. I love talking video games with you. Chris, how you doing this evening?
Hey, what's going on, Mooch? What's up, everybody? I'm actually very, very excited to be on tonight, and things are going great for me, man. I just had wonderful news and everything like that. So I'm very excited to be here. Yeah. So yeah, man. Once again, I still remember, Optimus Code as well. So I definitely, shout out and rest in peace to the late great Optimus Code as well. Also, I want to give, my condolences to Jay Barry. I know, he had a loss in family as well, so I want to shout out to him, prayers to him, his family, that they can get through it. But other than that, yeah, man, it's been a lot of games coming out. I've been, knee deep into Hogwarts and Persona, stuff like that. And there's more games coming out this month, like Octopath, and it's getting crazy. And then, of course, games that were announced, new trailers, and we're gonna get into all of that. So.
No, absolutely, Chris, and thank you for bringing that up. Shout out to the great Jay Barry. Jay just does a phenomenal job. For anyone that knows him, about promoting games, and he talks games, and so does Gaming with Persona. These guys just have a great show on Saturday mornings, man. It's just gaming, man. They get you so excited. You'll see a game they're talking about. You're like, I never even thought about that. Never even thought about playing that game. But the way that they actually talk about it, they describe it, it just makes you want to play the game. So shout out to all those guys as well.
Jay Barry has the greatest lisp in the business.
That is correct, Everborn. That is 100% correct. And he's another New Yorker.
I'm the second best list.
All right. I remember I had you both on the show. You guys were going back and forth with it, Chris. That was great.
Yeah.
Well, without further ado, I usually do our newest special guest, but Everborn Saga is here. And Everborn, it's a shame that you haven't been on the show. I take full responsibility for that, of course. But Everborn, this is going to be your first show. It's certainly not going to be your last show. Everborn Saga, you guys know him from the Gaming Circle podcast with the great Kay Asante, who's been on the show many times. Everborn, welcome to CrossFire, buddy. How you doing tonight?
I'm all right. I'm usually not available on Friday. That's the only reason I didn't reach out to you first. But as soon as I had a Friday available, I was like, I got to let Mooch know. So I am also, maybe you know this, maybe you don't, I'm a fellow New Yorker. I'm from Yonkers.
I did not know that. Are you currently in New York, or did you move?
Currently in Yonkers.
All right, that's fine.
All day, baby.
Listen, I gotta move them up on the list here a little bit. Those, I say this all the time. All the gaming news comes from the West Coast. All of it. Every single bit of it. I love that we have a representation on the East Coast. The East Coast games too. Even when you see announcements now, they're like, we'll be airing this at 4 o'clock PST. I'm like, listen, the ball drops here first. Okay? We start in New York, and then we go west. But something happened in about the last 10, 12 years, right, Everborn? Now everything's PST, and the EST's all the way at the end. I don't know how they forgot about New York, but nonetheless, Everborn, great to have you tonight, buddy. And really, with tonight's topics, I've been following you on Twitter. I see where you're going with a lot of your topics and your situation. I love the way you attack some of these battles. Really looking forward to getting to some of this stuff with you guys. Shout out to Tank Nate, who's here, Newtonian. I see all you guys in the chat. Please, guys, tweet it out. Let everybody know that we're live. The great TCMF. You guys know him as TC. It's level 35. TC, great to have you back on the show, buddy. I reached out to you a week or so ago, and you said, listen, Mooch, I'd love to do the show, but I'm on vacation. Well, I said, listen, there's no better way to get TC back on the show but rested and rejuvenated. So, TC, welcome back to the show. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. Excited for the show. I finished Dead Space just recently. I had to catch up after getting back from vacation. Great remake, of course. And now I'm finally getting into Hogwarts. I've been trying to avoid people on Twitter. Everybody's sharing all these pictures. Even one of my buddies started the game already, and he's sharing pictures, and I'm about to block everybody.
Yes.
I'm going to block him. We've been friends for 10 years, man, but those pictures you're sharing of petting a cat in Hogwarts, I'm going to have to block you right now. I'm excited to play that later, too.
No, it's a magical experience, TC, and I saw that you just finished Dead Space. That'll be something I'll probably pick up now that we're going into the tail end of February, and we're going to get into all the games that are coming tonight on the show. I'm going to have to squeak that in on the... I hope it doesn't get pushed all the way till summer, but it may happen for me. I don't know yet. We'll see.
At that point, they just leave it for Halloween. It would be a great Halloween
That's
game.
A great point. Oh, there you go, guys. You heard it here first. TC said it. We're going to stream it on Twitch at Halloween. Done. TC, you make my job a lot easier. And if they get mad at me, I'll just point everybody. Go argue with TC about that. That's when it's getting done. No, TC, great to have you here tonight, buddy. Can't wait to get your takes on this. The great creative Kofi is here as well. Kofi, this wasn't planned, but it's great that you're here this evening as well with all the games we're going to be talking about. How you been, Kofi?
I have been fantastic. I just love your energy right now. There's so many topics that I can't wait to express my opinion on. But before I mention that,
yes,
I just want to let you know I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
Ah.
And I don't hate the Giants at all because fuming for years after the Patriots defeated the Eagles back in 2005.
Yes.
I loved seeing that revenge that Eli got. So I can never, ever hate a Giants fan. Okay?
No,
I always have mutual respect. And you guys made it. Y'all saw it. Dable won Coach of the Year. Anyway,
he did.
Outside of that,
yes.
Okay, so first of all, Happy New Year. Yes, I haven't been here in a while. I've been enjoying some really good games. I like to import games. So the most recent game I just finished is called Kuro no Kiseki. It's part of a overarching series that's lasted many years called Legend of Heroes.
Yes.
It is the 13th installation in the series, and it and its prequel have not been localized and most likely won't come out in the West until maybe 2024. It was a really a great experience. Right now, only 2 chapters of this arc in the series is out, and I'm just having a fantastic time. To give people an idea of the battle system, if they've never seen Kuro no Kiseki, it is a blend of real-time and turn-based, and you can basically choose when to enter turn-based when you encounter an enemy. So it's very interesting, where it is an action title that you can come up to an enemy, dodge, cast magic, but for all the finer skills and all the boss fights, you do enter a turn-based type of match. So
yeah,
it's a very unique blend. It's the first time in the entire series that they've done this. Usually it's turn-based. So for fans who might want to dabble in something like that, I think this Trail series that comes out later, 2024, I'm hoping, it'll be a good time to jump in. And the other game is Disgaea 7. For people who aren't familiar, Disgaea is a tactics RPG that was born in 2003, 20 years ago, on PlayStation 2. It kind of had some ups and downs, with Disgaea 6 releasing last year, not being so well received. 7 just came out at the end of last month, and I love it. I picked it up off the PlayStation Store digitally because I just kind of wanted to play it immediately. I usually get it physical. But it's been really great. It's the first Disgaea game that's actually based on Japanese lore. And it's a comedy. It has great storytelling. It has over the top attacks and animations and all the things that you would expect from this series. So it's been great. I probably will post my thoughts on it very soon. I'm just really focusing on finishing games and catching up with my gaming hiatus. I had a gaming hiatus in the middle of last.
Well, it happens. It happens to all of us, but I got to be honest with you. This is what's intriguing about having you on the show, Kofi. Is just that you bring that whole other narrative that a lot of people we don't read about, we don't know about, we don't know what's coming down the pipe. The only person who might know of some of those games coming down the pipe are probably, I would even say, Chris Righteous, Jay Barry. I know that Persona. These guys look into some of those games that they know are coming over within a year or two to the States. So we appreciate the knowledge that you bring to the show, Kofi, and it's going to be exciting to talk some games with you tonight. But I like to put the guests on the hot seat here.
Hey Mooch, just really quick.
Sure,
I just want to say to Kofi, you lost me at the beginning with the sports talk, but you won me right back with the JRPG talk.
I got to be honest with you, Everborn. I can't believe he even talks sports. Not that, listen, sports. It's a tough subject in the gaming community, but Kofi, I didn't know Kofi was a sports guy at all. So this is great. He is just very. He's diverse. He's tight. He's talented across many fields. So Everborn, you won him back, Kofi, at the end. Thank God. The great TC, I got to bring you back on here right away because, you know, a lot of people have been talking about PSVR. Okay, and I know. Listen. I shouldn't assume, but it would behoove me not to think this. TC, you are going to be getting PSVR2 in a week or two, I believe. Correct?
Oh, do you want me to explode? Yeah, I am getting.
I figured as much. I hate to assume.
I've been waiting. Even during the era of talking about PlayStation 5 during I think 2020 before it released. If you go back to some of those videos, I even said multiple times, and people were shocked. I am more excited back then for a PlayStation VR2 than I was for the PlayStation 5, which was crazy for people to hear. But once you get into VR gaming, you honestly see it as a future. Like the real future. Mundane things are exciting. Everything just becomes more immersive. It's really something that puts you into this world, and I cannot wait. I just hope it gets there at launch day. I don't know what's up with these delivery dates, honestly, but yeah, I am getting PSVR 2.
So what do you think about that? And by the way, Everborn, I know it's your first time on the show. Please feel free, guys. Chris Righteous, same thing with Kofi. Guys, please chime in whenever you want, by the way. The Great Worry Wart might be joining us as well in a bit. We'll see if he gets, he's working as well. So, I see a few people asking you about BRAP. BRAP is under the weather today, guys, so if you're here late. But whenever you guys want to chime in, Everborn, what do you think about PSVR 2 before we get into the games?
Yeah, so I feel like I have to sit out the PSVR 2 conversation because I was an early VR convert.
Okay.
Like I had the original Oculus and that you had to plug into the PC.
Yes.
And that was before the Quest. I had the Quest and the Quest 2.
Yep.
I remember waiting online overnight and I had to drive to Long Island because that was the only Best Buy that had the original Oculus. I've been there since very early days. And I have fallen out of love with VR. I feel like it's like the 3D TV craze. And I don't think it's had its iPhone moment. This is nothing against the PSVR 2.
So I gotta jump into that just
yes,
real quick.
Yes.
Because Mooch loves the CrossFire here. But
yes, please.
In terms of the 3D conversation, I feel like people forget how long 3D lasted. No way did 3D in comparison to VR, which has lasted over, nearly a decade now, VR has outpassed that 3D niche because that thing died out so quick. It was there, and in a blink of an eye, it was gone. VR has had iterations. You have Quest 3, Quest 1, 2 Pro, all the PC VR headsets. Sony's even willing to make a second VR headset, the company that shot down the Vita. There's definitely clearly a market here instead of... So it was just a 3D remark because I've seen some people use that conversation before, and I'm just like, those are completely not even in the same ballpark. I can understand if you've fallen out of VR. That's, you come and go in different areas of gaming.
And I have this conversation with Kay Asante a lot.
Yep.
We like to call it he's the VR apologist and I'm the Sonic apologist. So that's how these things go. But for me, I do not feel like VR has had its basically iPhone moment yet. I
can agree to that. I can agree to that.
Like my barometer, can you just give this to your mother, your grandmother, and they use it? And when that happens, and I don't know what it's going to take to get there,
but I will say
it feels like it's in the enthusiast stage now.
With the phones side of things, that also took a bit of time. It's just it needs to hit mass market. So for VR, for the longest time, it was a very nerdy thing. Quest, got a shout out to Mark. Quest actually brought it to the masses. I have a Quest 2 myself as well. I have a PSVR, but I never had any of the PC side of things. But I've seen those setups and all the stuff you got to go through just to set those up.
Yeah,
and they are high quality VR, but it could have never hit that mass market. But one thing with something like PlayStation VR 2, it's the gamer's thing that's attached to a console. It might be able to reach a higher market. But in terms of your grandma using something, I think Meta and Apple might be the ones to hit that level. Now, but it won't be VR. It'll be mixed reality. It'll be AR most likely.
Right.
That's a great point.
Even then, like Microsoft just lost that big military contract for AR. So it's like all the big AR companies who we thought were gonna going to be big. And I'm not like bashing on it. It's just, it's super fascinating to me. But I just wonder if it will ever catch on. Because like even PSVR2, which is the closest we've gotten to mainstream, I feel like the price is so like
so you're
mass adoption.
You're connecting the two different things. So for PSVR, it's not, even though it has passed through in terms of being able to see through, it's really a VR dedicated gaming headset.
Oh no, I wasn't comparing to. It's just that you said, what do you call it? I just don't. I
said it was gonna go with AR, so mixed reality. So something like what Apple has coming up next, and what Meta is trying to do, but Apple's probably gonna be the one that really pushes it with their Pro Reality. I think that's the code name right now for it. But it's mixed reality, so augmented reality. So you're putting on this headset and you're doing your daily stuff. You're sitting on your laptop, your computer. You have 15 screens. And you can walk down the street, things pop up, navigation. It's supposed to replicate what you do on your phone, but something more immersive. And it's going to be a more interactive thing, but it brings real life and the virtual reality into one thing together. That's what I was referring to, not PSVR. Because PSVR is mainly VR. It's gaming dedicated, and that's why I love it. But AR is probably going to be the thing that hits the mainstream, and VR will be attaching itself on the back end of that. That's how I see it.
I only brought up because when you said AR would take it, and I don't want to take too much time on this because I know we're here to talk about games. It's just super fascinating.
No, this is fine. Speak about it.
This is the CrossFire.
Go ahead, buddy. Yeah, no, Everborn. You're at home right now. You don't realize it, but you're at home right now. Go ahead.
So Josh Ayers in the chat just beat me to it. Like Google Glass came and went, and they had to get rid of it. HoloLens came and went, and they had to get rid of it. There were
no. So
not get rid of it. Not get rid of it.
Let me just chime in. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm like
no. It's cool.
So for I've tried HoloLens when I was working at my old job as a consultant. I've tried HoloLens, and while it was interesting to see. It was like when I first got to try it.
I used that in the Microsoft store. The one they have in Manhattan.
For me, it was like a part of an introduction to Microsoft technologies, because my previous company really focused on Microsoft technologies, Azure, Dynamics, all of that good stuff. But for HoloLens, I got to try it out, and while it was impressive to have some of that mixed reality stuff, it was a narrow field of view, and you can clearly tell it is primitive. That is not what you're going to see with what Meta's trying to do going forward. And they kind of have a bit of it on the Quest Pro, and what you're going to see, especially with Apple. If Apple is investing in this is something they're taking seriously, and that's what's going to push the market. So for HoloLens and Google Glass, I would even throw it into the mix. That was like some very cheap. Yeah, it was very cheap nothingness. What the AR that I'm talking about is, like, you have this on your head, you're driving your car, and almost like a video game, you have a bunch of screens that pop up in front of on your windshield, and you have like arrows directing you on where you're supposed to go. That level of mixed reality. That's what I see happening with Apple's headset and what Meta's trying to do. Because Meta right now, if you have the Quest Pro, you can sit down, put that thing on, go on your laptop, and actually have multiple screens that you're doing, and it's mixed in with your real life. So that's the start right now, but it's gonna kick up when Apple gets involved.
Where I would piggyback off of this conversation, and I think TC made some good points. Everyone, I'm just gonna throw some questions out there, but where TC's saying, like, I'll give you an example. Back in 2016, VR was very much a niche still thing in the gaming circuit, right? I'm not saying in the market as far as people buying it, but in the gaming circuit. Just recently, my family as a whole has been using Quest 2, and the kids were all meeting up on there. They're all having fun. Like, they're like, I need to use the headset. My friends are getting on there playing. So I think the VR conversation, when you said, when a grandma will be able to use it, you gotta remember, grandmas are also not playing Dead Space. So, like, when it comes down to it, the adaption rate here doesn't have to be a 1-for-1 console to VR headset. I don't even think that they're looking for that right now. Would they like that? Of course they would like that. But right now, the immersion is not just an experience anymore. These are full-fledged games. People are meeting online, and Meta and Apple are doing the advertising for Sony. Because right now, anytime a headset does well, It does well for the spectrum of VR headsets. It just makes it more readily known, readily available.
Rising tide.
Rising tide. Right, exactly, Everborn. So it's not, and by the way, none of this is to talk you into it. I completely understand where you're coming from if it's not your bag. I completely get that because it's taken me a good 6 years to come around. But I will say this much. The Quest 2 is what brought me around. This is where TC will probably throw a tomato at me, and that's fine. But I got to be honest with you.
I have a Quest 2 as well.
I like the Quest, but the Quest 2 got me in. That got me into it. Well, yeah, Everborn goes there. But, you know, the thing is, though, think about this, though, Everborn. So you have a massive friends library on PS5, let's just say. This is hypothetical, not using you as an example. But now, all of a sudden, I've got people like the great Noof Nukem. You guys know these guys. And a bunch of others. Just Noof happened to be the one that talked to me just before the show. And he's very excited for it. And I've gamed with him on PSVR in the past. To have that same friends list be able to play those games with you now, it's different than just putting on the Meta Quest and having the 5 or 6 people you met recently or that have bought it and been on. The whole ecosystem is there. The games are there. Now people are saying you can play your games. Like you could play Call of Duty. Yes, it's the cinema screen. I'm not recommending that. But you can even play some of your PS5 games that are not PSVR2 games through with your headset and have conversations with friends. So this is really it's an integrated system throughout the PS5 ecosystem. And I think that that's something that's unique that I think everyone wanted Xbox to do. I know a lot of people on the Xbox side now say, I don't want that. But they did want that. And that's not coming anytime soon.
Wait, why wouldn't you want Xbox to jump into the mix? That's better for VR.
I don't know why, but
I thought Mooch said
no, I said that there's certain folks in the Xbox camp that are like, we don't need that. And I'm like, but it's nice if it was there. I think it would be outstanding if it was on the Xbox side.
I would love to play the next Halo in VR or the next Gears or maybe Fable. Fable would be amazing in VR. Personally, that's how I would see it.
So,
and it could be a mixed bag situation, similar to with GT7, Resident Evil 8, Village. All of these games are games that you play on your flat screen, and you can also play them in full VR. So this is a blend. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Developers can make their mainline AAA game and also support VR. But why wouldn't you want Xbox to jump in the mix?
Because I'd like Xbox to figure out how to ship games first. And I feel like Sony doesn't have that problem, so they can divert some of their effort.
It's cold, but it's not necessarily wrong.
Your answer. I didn't expect that to be.
No, but I mean, like, how would it look right now? Like, you got
good point.
And again, I feel like they have good momentum right now.
Yes,
and that's great.
Yep.
But like, you just delayed Redfall and Starfield. If they announced a VR headset now, my eyes would roll so hard to the back of my head. But again, I'm a VR hater, so you can't really listen to me. But I would rather they got focused, had a steady delivery pipeline, and then they can focus on side stuff like VR.
So with Xbox, they don't necessarily have to come out with their own headset because the Xbox itself is just the PC OS. What it could really do, what they could actually do if Xbox wanted to, I assume, is actually support PC VR and PC VR games and the PCR community and those headsets. Maybe they could have drivers or something that allow them to be ran on a Series X because the Series X is a capable console. So I would assume it would be able to run some of those PC VR game, and it actually would have an advantage over PlayStation because if it does run PC VR, it runs potentially all of these modded games and some of these people who transfer regular games into full VR supported games, like modders that do that. I don't know I forget their names, but there's modders that actually just fully convert left and right full-fledged games into VR. I personally I could see Microsoft bridging themselves over. And I thought that was going to be the plan when I saw Quest in there. But then I saw the Game Pass ad come up and then I rolled my eyes and just continued on with my day.
Yeah. I think and people think like Microsoft is ignoring VR. They're not. It's just that they don't see. They're relegating it to the PC space. So a lot of the drivers that all of the VR headsets use, Microsoft has helped with that. There's a lot of work that they've done in that space. They just are not doing it on console. And
I think some people forget that Microsoft is bigger than Xbox. It's
right. Exactly.
Yeah. No, and that's a great conversation. Everborn, I'm kind of glad you brought that to the table because, I mean, like I said, what's so funny, I'm sitting here and enjoying the conversation between you and TC just because I was actually I felt the way Everborn felt back in 2016. And it was a very slow, gradual process to get where I am now. But the one thing that I encourage people to think about. The
reverse actually happened for me, though. I felt like TC in 2016.
Oh, wow.
Right? Buying everything. I'm all over. I was all over it. And then just over time, I just felt like everything I'm playing is a goddamn demo.
Okay, so Everborn,
no,
that's my point.
Hold up.
Now things have changed.
Hold up. So
I agree with him back in the day.
That's exact. There we go. Back in the days, the key part here. I think you need to get into VR today. Start with Resident Evil 4 on Quest or Saints and Sinners.
I did want to try that. I did want to.
Oh, Resident Evil 4.
Everborn.
Really good.
Yeah, I bought that the day it came out on Quest 2, and I've loved it. I've loved it.
Yeah.
Now,
Saints and Sinners is my personal best VR game. If you haven't played that, the sequel comes out in March.
I did play Half-Life Alyx, but I feel like there's not enough of that.
Oh my god! Half-Life Alyx, I haven't played it, but I heard it's amazing. Definitely play Saints and Sinners. It's people put Half-Life Alyx as a top, but they also put Saints and Sinners not far after.
So Saints and
not
Sinners
in terms of visuals, but in terms of interactivity in the whole world.
Saints and Sinners Part 1 will be their day 1 TC, right? But Part 2 comes out in March.
No, the Part 1 and Part 2 are both in March for PlayStation VR2.
Oh, they're both in March.
The first game is on PSVR1 already. I played it on PSVR1. I played it on the Quest, and I might even replay Saints and Sinners Chapter 1 on PSVR2 again before I play Part 2. Oh my! There's so many games.
Well, I'm a Walking Dead lunatic. You guys know anything with zombies. Mooch is already signed up. I don't care if it's VR. I don't care if it's a Nintendo NES from 1985.
I'm with you.
I'm right there.
I'm with you. Mooch, you haven't played Saints and Sinners?
I have not.
My goodness.
I know. That's one of the games.
Yes.
You can check my Twitter today when I was writing to Noof and a few other VR folks. I said that's on my list. It's on my list. It's one of the very first games I'll buy. The minute it comes out, I'll have it. You said March, right? March is when I believe Part 2 comes out.
Yeah, they come out in a package deal. If you can get Part 1 on a discount, you get a free upgrade for PSVR2.
Let me talk to Everborn. And by the way, Chris and Kofi, don't feel this is not a three-person conversation. If you guys like or dislike it, please chime in. But the one thing I want to say is to Everborn, because I really do understand what he's talking about, because I was there, is I got sick and tired back in the day of the word experiences. Mooch, you've got to experience being the Batman. I don't want to experience being Batman for 10 minutes. I want to play a game, 6 hours, 8 hours. It doesn't have to be 50 hours on VR, because myself personally, generally after 35 to 45 minutes, this is me. I'll take a break. Like I don't play VR for probably 2 hours, 3 hours a rep. Others might go, Mooch, I do. You're crazy. That's fine. About 45 minutes, I take a break, and then I'll go back to it. But the one thing that I've grown to love about VR, because I love gaming so much, is now that the full games are in there, like Call of the Mountain, the Walking Dead series, Half-Life Alyx, and there's many, many more to come, is that now you're not just putting it on, oh, look, it's cool. I look like Batman for 15 minutes. Okay, that's it. That's all there is to it. Now there are games, and it's just a completely different way to experience gaming. And it's not something you may do every night, but it's something that you would do even if it's once a week, twice a week. And it steps you off of that couch with the controller, and you get to stand up and play. Yeah, you do. And Beat Saber, I own Beat Saber for Quest 2.
Slow down. I want to hear about any exercise.
Everyone's like, take it easy. Take it easy.
Well, the thing is, you'll naturally exercise when you're playing some of these games,
absolutely.
Like Pistol Whip, which
Beat Saber
I like Pistol Whip more than
Beat Saber. Literally, there's sweat involved. There's sweat involved in that game, whether you like it or you don't. It's just the way it is.
Have you played Pistol Whip?
I have not.
Oh my goodness!
I know. That's why I'm pretty happy about this upcoming release.
Maybe I need to put out a list online on Twitter.
Well, I have. Like so you know what? I tried to do my due diligence here. I have the entire list here, and I'm not gonna. There's 40-something games here, but Gran Turismo 7, Call of the Mountain, Resident Evil Village, Pistol Whip is right here. I'm trying to look at some of the ones that Walking Dead series. Of course, we talk about No Man's Sky. Listen, so a big fan of No Man's Sky reached out to me. He's a gamer on Xbox, and he goes, Mooch, do me a favor. He goes, do you like No Man's Sky? This was probably about 2 years ago when that big release came out, when No Man's Sky really got its footing. Maybe it was a little less, maybe it was a little more than 2 years ago. You guys know that. And he says to me, have you played it? I said, no. I ended up getting on gaming with him. We had a great experience. To see this in VR and be able to go through the various planets and find the materials and then get back in your ship and then create that world. You can create your fort. Like, that's going to be an experience that I'm hoping somebody wants to, like, it would definitely be more fun to do with a friend than alone, but it's still an experience nonetheless. That's something that's just, you want to talk about hundreds of hours. I mean, people play No Man's Sky, they've got hundreds of hours involved into these things. The Dark Pictures, Man of, what is it here? I apologize. Man of Medan is supposedly going to be there. There's the Ghostbusters game. There's Among Us, which you guys might laugh with Among Us.
Wait, are you talking about the Switchback?
Switchback. This one says Man of
Pictures game. It's called Switchback, the roller coaster.
Yes, it's listed here on the Google site as Man of Medan, but it is Switchback. It's basically the one where you're on rails.
Oh yeah, the Rush of Blood on PSVR is amazing. The sequel with eye tracking, it's gonna. Oh, I can't wait for the enemies to track my eyes, and anytime I blink, they start appearing in different areas. I'm ready for that. Lights closed, headphones on.
Yes,
I'm ready.
Yes. Go ahead, everyone.
Just like super science fiction for a minute. I
feel like
let's go. Yeah, I've been ruined by the Black Mirror, and I want there to be like a neural interface that handles, you thinking with locomotion. So you think and you walk. Again, not saying that that's something that like needs to happen now, but I feel like the technology's there. We're just farther out, but before VR can become like a household, billion people using it kind of thing.
Yeah,
well, gaming isn't really billion people. There's
gaming's 3 billion people, right?
Wait, are you?
Well, you're talking about mobile phones.
You're including mobile. Yeah, okay, that's
like mobile. Is a
well,
lot
I feel happy disrespecting mobile.
Not disrespect mobile. I actually have my controllers for mobile. I play on mobile. I'm a subscriber of Apple Arcade, but usually when I'm talking about like full-fledged gaming, and it's been anytime I bring up mobile on my YouTube channel, people kind of give me flack. I was focused on like regular. Console and PC gaming type of stuff.
Don't get me wrong, everyone. You could definitely count the mobile market. The mega corporations are definitely counting it, so I understand that. But I mean,
one thing when I say mobile, like forget about the money. Who cares about money?
Right.
But what I develop games. I've released a few mobile games. Working on 2 mobile projects right now. Nice. You would be surprised how far these things have come. And I mean, you can look at Genshin Impact if anyone's ever played that. You can look at some of those games.
If you want to look at some good mobile games, look at the Apple Arcade. Yeah, you just said it. Look at the Apple Arcade library. It's actually, people kind of like to put it down because it's Apple and their mobile games, but there are some gems on the Apple Arcade.
Yes, there are. No,
things that give a Switch a run for their money, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
So it is way more complex.
And if you use a backbone, it essentially becomes a Switch.
Exactly. So, and this is the thing. The mobile chipsets are becoming more powerful, faster than the big graphics cards are becoming smaller, right? So you think about gaming laptops and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so there's going to be sort of an event horizon or whatever you call it, where mobile devices are good enough to play like what we consider console quality stuff.
So I just being in any form of tech at all, Everborn, what you said is factual. That is very true. The question then becomes, okay, especially when you're talking about the differential between what TC was saying. He said, when I bring up mobile gaming on my channel, he gets looked at, kind of, he gets an awkward eye there. But the reason I
still bring it up anyways.
No, that's fine. But the thing about mobile that we have to keep in perspective is mobile is even less than like VR, you're doing it in 10 to 15 minute spurts. So I'm not going to play The Witcher 3 on my phone. Okay? I'm not going to play the Callisto Protocol on my phone. No matter how great the phone gets.
My daughter has in Genshin. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Genshin, that's fine. But I mean, you got to remember, kids also don't have to, pay taxes, go to work, things like that. So, I mean, they have time.
They should.
They should. And if you vote for that, everyone will be right behind you to vote. I'm with you. But I mean, at the same time, I think that when it comes down to it, I think the mobile market is a bit of it's tough correlation here with the VR world. But I mean, let me get Kofi. Well, because I want to get back to whatever Born was saying,
but I just wanted to chime into this real quick. But VR again doesn't necessarily have to. Not everything for it to succeed has to reach 1 billion people. Gaming, console gaming, focused on console gaming.
Right.
It's not 1 billion people, but it's still very successful. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. But yeah, go ahead.
No, it doesn't. That was what I was saying earlier. It doesn't need to be a 1-for-1. I mean, I think Sony even said for their launch year, they're looking at 1.5 to 2 million units, and I think that would satisfy their investors. But Kofi, when you hear what we're talking about, and this was some great conversation, by the way. Kofi, where are you on VR? Are you getting one? And if you're not, are you still intrigued slightly? And I want to get Chris's take.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between intrigued and definitely want to get. I am not going to be getting directly at launch. I typically am saving up for a more expensive wheel for racing a GT7. I kind of want the Fanatic DD Pro, which has just been missing from store shelves or online. I'm talking about at the Fanatic website. And so I'll probably wait into the fall to see when there's a sale, there's some sort of bundle with some games, so I can kind of creep into it. But you mentioned some IPs that I'm very excited to play with VR. No Man's Sky for sure. Dreams. I feel like Dreams has a creative gateway for people to have these. They have these huge worlds that we see there, and Media Molecule they've kind of been. I feel like they've gotten away with releasing a game and having promise of adding things like multiplayer, adding things like a PlayStation 5 update, and then they kind of disappeared. I wish that they would take an opportunity to use PSVR2 to, I don't know, take their IP to the next step, because it's obvious that if you can use a controller to create some of the things that we've seen on Twitter, that's amazing. Now, when I look at the overall market, I think you touched on something that's great. Because of the Quest, because of all the competitors that are already out, whatever 5 million units that the original PSVR sold, I think we're going to see a multiplier on the number of sales we see this generation.
Yes.
And so here's the part I'm a little bit challenged with. I forget if it was TC or Everborn who mentioned this. Xbox entering the ecosystem could be great for just expanding the community of people who want to use it. But I would fear that Xbox would never have a developer that was solely interested in pushing the community forward with some sort of great game like Half-Life Alyx, right? That's like a definitive experience everybody can say, hey, if you're hardcore, right? Not for your grandmas. That's a definitive experience. And we know that PlayStation's going to do that too, right? Whether it's Fire Sprite. I was going to throw out, has anybody played The Persistence, which seems to be like the one VR immersive like roguelike that Fire Sprite developed before they were acquired by Sony.
Yeah, I played it. I played it a bit, but I'm hoping they release a PSVR2 version.
By the way, I just thought of something. $1 billion idea.
What do you got?
We should start a gaming studio called Grandma's Gaming.
Oh my God.
Think about it. All casual stuff. You could just hand to your grandma and walk away.
I love the motto. I love the name. Everborn.
It's like giving her a remote with 4 buttons on it, and she eats.
That's it, man. We'll print money. Think about it.
No back buttons. Whatever you do. No, you know what, Kofi? So, what was your question there about? Was it you said I'm a bit? You were kind of perplexed about something with Xbox. What was it?
Well, I would want them to use one of their studios to specifically develop for hardware that would be compatible with Windows. And I don't want them to go the easy route of focusing on where things are played and more focus on how I can give a definitive experience for Xbox gamers or PC gamers. And they kind of are getting away with not doing that as of late. They're like, where you play is important. How impressed you are with where we're taking technology in the gaming community is right.
Yeah, I also think that the what you play is also right. They're more concentrating on the where you can play, which is great. That's great. It's part of the where, what, why system, but the what is incredibly important. And then there's the, like I say, then the where factor is why not that avenue as well? I think Xbox originally was going to let third party handle that, which makes sense. That makes sense, right? PC, Windows as their base. Why not have third party get involved with that? But it seemingly just hasn't picked up any traction. It doesn't mean it won't. Go ahead, Everborn.
So what sort of interests me about this, right? Because at the end of the day, we're still putting large devices on our faces. Does the cloud ever play into this? And I know there's an issue with VR and you have to have a very high refresh rate. And I don't know if we have current technology that does that.
If you want to puke.
Like, yeah, right. I feel like if there's ever a way to get there and you can have a much smaller device, that you're putting on your face, I feel like that's kind of the holy grail of this stuff. Because then
I can get behind that.
As simple as glasses. But again, the streaming technologies just doesn't exist to be able to handle 90 hertz or whatever. At least I don't think. Right. So I think we'd have to get there first before we could.
I definitely think
there is a wireless. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, TC.
So there is a wireless approach right now, but I think you're talking about cellular.
On the Quest, right?
Yeah, and how is it? I haven't tried it.
So it's really good if you use Wi-Fi 6, and that's why I thought the PSVR2 was going to be wireless.
That is going to be a thing later. I would assume that. I think as Sony mentioned research of wireless tech. Also, when I heard about them having Wi-Fi 6 before launch, I assumed 100% that was for PSVR2, and I still think that's for a wireless version down the line, whether it's a pro version or the next one.
And this is shout out to Kay Asante. He believes the key to the success of the PSVR2 is opening it up to being able to be used with a PC, right? Because the VR market, aside from Facebook closes that market up. And I mean, they allow you to very easily turn it on the developer mode so you can install games and experiences and whatever from anywhere. But the PSVR2 has such great hardware that people on PC, like the hardcore PC VR heads, they would eat that up, right?
Well, with PlayStation VR2, for Sony right now, I think it's just a way of getting people more so into the ecosystem. So you have these hybrid games like Resident Evil 8. Right now, if you pay the same price for Resident Evil 8 on Xbox, for example, or on PlayStation, on the PlayStation side, you can play it normally and you can play it in VR as an added benefit.
And no additional charge.
Yeah, no additional charge.
Well, I mean, there's a $560 charge, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
We
got an Everborn. Don't get me wrong. I like
gaming on the PlayStation 5 console itself, everything.
I like Everborn's. Zing there. I don't blame him one bit for throwing that out there, but it's like, it's like when you walk in the grocery store and someone's like, the steaks are on sale. They're only $15. Oh, you're like, oh my God.
But what about the grill?
But I got to go buy a stove?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, we got to stop with that. I mean, I know that's a Twitter thing. But it's like, you gotta pay to do things. I mean, that's the one thing that we'll get into the Microsoft Activision deal in a bit here. But not everything's free, guys. So, it's just not, and if you don't believe me, wait till tomorrow when you get in the car, you gotta stop and get gas, right? It's expensive. Lettuce is $7. Eggs is like $6 a carton. What are we talking about? You're not gonna get everything for free. And when you do get everything for free, the old slogan comes in, you get what you pay for. And I wish more people would realize that. So when someone says to you something's free, it depends on what that actually means. So that being into consideration, Chris Righteous, can I get the great Chris Righteous in here? Chris, are you going to do VR? I have not heard you say anything about VR on Twitter, on podcasts, on Spaces. And if you have, shame on me.
No, I'm not getting the day one. I am interested in it because everybody that I know that has VR or play VR says that it's a pretty compelling and unique gaming experience. And I'm all for that. I'm all for trying, new and unique gaming experiences and stuff like that. I've been gaming for a long time.
Yeah.
But is this really is gonna have to need a lot of compelling games that I'm looking at and be like, damn, I really, really want to play that. And it has to be several because like I said, I never really put on the VR before, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna like it or.
You've never used it, Chris?
You've never experienced.
You've never
VR?
Put it on?
No.
Oh
no,
my!
Let me.
My!
Oh, go ahead, Chris. No, let Chris finish. No, Chris, go ahead. No, Chris. No, it's not a bad thing, Chris. It's just
for you. For the first time, you get to experience it, and you'll experience it on a high-end VR headset.
I'm actually jealous
if you plan to get it.
Well, I'm jealous
because I experienced it on PSVR 1, then Quest. You're jumping straight to PSVR 2. You
Well,
weren't there on the
I don't
rough
know
edges.
when. That's what I'm saying. It's gonna have to have a lot of like Half-Life is definitely a very compelling game that I would definitely like to try out because I love the first two games.
What do you like?
But so what?
What do you like? What do you like to play? What's your genres?
I mean, I play all sorts of different genres. I mean, I play a lot of JRPGs. I play a lot of action adventure games, fighting games. You know, things third person action, all that stuff. You know.
I think Chris
I'm well rounded. I play a lot of mainly Japanese centric games, but I'm well rounded in a lot of different other genres.
So in terms of VR, there are a lot of genres to jump into and a lot of games. I would sit down because the thing about it that I've noticed is that some people don't know the actual library that's out there right now.
But here's the thing. I'm pretty well informed. So trust me, I have looked into the different games and stuff like that. Like trust me, I've looked into these things and talked about it. I'm just saying, for me personally, I'm not gonna say a whole lot about it because I'm not really gonna get one at launch, and I haven't really experienced one before. So
yeah. No,
so
and that's fine. Go ahead, everyone.
Record the first time you experience it. The internet needs to see it.
I mean, I'll definitely, do impressions and things like that.
I would say experience it at a friend's house and give it some time because not every person, but most people, including myself, we had to get our, I guess what you call VR legs. So at the beginning, you get that, nausea and stuff like that. But after you get used to it, it goes away. PSVR2 is supposed to counteract that with the head haptics, but I haven't experienced that myself to see how well it works. But I would say for VR, if you haven't experienced it, if you know anybody, try it out as much as possible at their place to get over the before dropping in $550.
Yeah, that's the thing. And again, you have to take everything I say with a grain of salt because I am a VR hater. But
that's another thing I wanted to say. As far as like Microsoft, I always said that like maybe, and I'm pretty sure it's probably very difficult to do. But I always thought of that instead of Microsoft doing their own like Xbox VR. Just like they like to make the console and the PC, all one, one SKU and one GDK, whatever that shit is. It's like, why not make some of the ones that are compatible with PC be compatible with Xbox? But I'm not, I don't know how hard that would be. But I always thought that they could have done something like that. But I don't know. I think now if they come out with one, just like Everborn says, which I agree with, like they have an issue now getting this shit together on their console.
They ship another
dedicated gaming device and also split their game developers and stuff like that to also develop for the VR. They don't even know how to manage this shit properly right now, and they got to get that shit together. So, but I think if they do
2 years of solid releases,
I think if they do, Sony's definitely going to be way ahead of them because Sony's first on the market, and all Sony really has to do is later on, which I think is a really good possibility, is make PSVR2 compatible with PC hardware.
Shout out to the great Jez.
Like crazy.
Great Jez just joined us, Jez 7780. But go ahead, Everborn, and then I'll get Jez's take on this. Everborn, go ahead and wanted to hear your
real quick, Chris. So again, I don't like it's great that Sony's focusing on this, but a lot of what we see in the VR space happens on PC first, and it happens on Windows, and they're very engaged in that. So Microsoft they could hit the ground running if they want to. I just think that they don't have the bandwidth to do that right now. And personally, I'd like to see 2-3 years of solid, high quality releases. And what's on the screen right now, Hi-Fi Rush is a great start. But I need to see solid releases before they even.
If we're gonna be honest about Hi-Fi Rush, it wasn't really Microsoft. It's been in development since 2017. I'm waiting to see what Bethesda does now going forward.
So, okay, here we go. That's a great thing you said. So here's the thing. If that is, if Microsoft purchases Bethesda, it's not like Bethesda forgets how to make games, right? So if it is a first party, it is a release, Bethesda's going to continue to operate in a limited integration fashion. So Bethesda is going to continue to do what they do.
Everborn
for Xbox.
Everborn, first of all, I applaud your point. I like that rebuttal. I haven't heard that one. I agree with it. But I will say this much. The one point that I will back TC on this is, and I said it a few weeks ago on the show, and I think a lot of people got it, whether they were Xbox or Sony fans. Microsoft being in charge changes things. It changes things. If me and you, Everborn, open up a pizza place next week, all right, and we put all of our hard money into it, we talk our families into it, we're like, we're going to do this. I've known Everborn a long time. We will work excruciating hours and work our ass off to get that product out. If Microsoft walks along, comes in, says, boy, this is a good slice of pizza, and we go, thanks, I appreciate that. I'm going to buy your place. You guys are still going to be here. You're still going to make the pizza. I'm going to take care of everything. Rent's taken care of. Everything's taken care of. This is going to be your promotion. This will be your salary. This is all of that. You lose a little bit of fire. And you go, well, Mooch, prove it to me. I'll prove it to you. You had a situation a year or two ago when people said, Mooch, listen, this is the way that Bethesda advertises their games. They come out in June, and they say Fallout 4 is coming this December. Well, they announced when Starfield was going to come out. And then they delayed. And then they said it was going to come out first half of this year. We don't know 100% yet, but I'm going to bet with Redfall coming out in May, it's not coming out first half. So it's another delay. So what I'm saying to you is when you say, Mooch, they don't forget how to make games. No, they certainly don't. That's a great point, Everborn. But when all of a sudden the lights, your salary, everything is taken care of, everything's comped, it's a different emotional, it's just a different situation in the office. Everything is different. Everything is run different. It's new management signs everywhere. And it's just not the same. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but you may not have the same hunger you did when you were out there fighting to make that money on your own and nobody was paying for the rent. Nobody was going to keep the lights on. Nobody was going to pay for the product. You had to do all of that with your hard-earned work. That's what an independent company thrives on. And once it's engulfed and it's taken in by a corporation and everything's taken care of, you start to see things that are happening right now. Right? They went ahead and got the Coalition, team from Epic. They haven't really delivered the same as 1, 2, and 3. When
if
Bungie left,
one prime
3, 4, 3, Halo has not been the same since Bungie left.
Right, so
and it goes on and on and on.
Just let me take one point at a time because it's going to be hard to.
Yeah, I like to talk about the VR.
Oh yeah, sorry about that, Chance. No, let me let everyone.
I wanted to get my impression on the VR thing.
Yeah,
before you move on to the Xbox game thing. Yes, is that okay, Mooch?
No, go ahead, buddy. Go.
All right, yeah.
But everyone, I'll give you the mic. I apologize,
dude. No problem, man. I know it was going off with the
yeah, we kind of shifted. It started to shift.
But yeah, that VR stuff, dude. Like, so the thing is that I'm really hyped for the PSVR2. I didn't get the Meta Quest because I'm basically I knew that there was going to be a better VR coming out, so I didn't want to get that mobile thing. And I know that battery life and also having the experience of having a heavy ass visual like thing on your face is one of the other reasons why I prefer it not being run as a mobile thing, because you're wearing all the tech on your face, and that is definitely wearing on you, where this thing is very light because all the processing power is going to the PlayStation. It's one cable, so this thing is just basically the haptic stuff and some lenses and basically some stuff. So basically this thing is light. But I'll tell you, having the Vive back in the day and also having the PSVR 1,
Vive was great.
Even though I went out and grabbed Vive, and actually I bought the Vive because of Phil goddamn Spencer, because he said that he's going to support high fidelity VR. Microsoft Store had the Vive in stock, and they were demoing it there, and I was like, oh, so they're going to support high fidelity VR? Maybe they're going to support the Oculus, because remember they were bundling the controller with the Oculus. They made a big VR push, and then they pulled the rug from underneath everybody, and I bought a Vive and I got it in my gaming PC, and the Vive was great, but like you guys said, it was a lot of tech demos. It was a lot of just like proof of concept stuff. But I didn't want to get a PSVR. I was like, that is low resolution.
Yeah,
remember, the PSVR was deemed the poor man's VR, because that was not high fidelity.
Yeah, I didn't want it when it came out either. At first, I did not.
Yeah. So what happened was I actually tried it. They had a lot of demos in the Best Buy. I roam Best Buy all the time. I tried it out at Best Buy, and what I noticed was immediately was the comfort of it, because the Vive was wearing on my, like, it would just give me those VR goggles, they call them, and you just had all this pressure on your face around your sinuses, and it wouldn't be great like after a while, and get all fogged up as well. So the VR it's a visor. You just put it on your face and do that. So the comfort of that was one thing. The second thing was that Sony had games. They had games. It was a fun VR. Yes, the tech was old, but the games that they had were fun, and they were actually games. And then that's what PC kind of wasn't really at the time. They really didn't have like a full-blown games. They basically just had, look at this. You could pick up some stuff on a table and throw the table and interacting in a VR room. And there were some fun things in VR. Yeah. I played Fruit Ninja like a son of a bitch on that. I loved Fruit Ninja. Oh man, that was the best. And you'll say like, that's dude in VR all day, just slicing different. Dude, VR, that was awesome. But anyway, like the thing is that this VR, they got the right thing going. They don't have just Horizon Forbidden West and call it in a day. They got a lot of games coming to this system. And the one thing that I have to say is that this just brings another avenue of games to the platform.
Yes.
And that's what I said when Microsoft pulled out of VR and just try to make it like, hey, you want to do Excel charts on a wall with AR reality and stuff like that. The problem is that they don't have a dog in the fight. And remember what happened with Windows Phone. They let this industry just kind of go away. VR now is there. And now Microsoft, if they ever decided to get into VR and this meta, whatever the hell they want to do, now they got to go development recruiting, and they're not good at that. They cannot get devs on board with them. Look at UWP, look at everything else, Connect and all that other stuff. They're not really great for recruiting developers. Good for buying them and owning them and telling them what to do, but not recruiting them and getting them excited about their platforms. A lot of things failed, Windows, all that stuff. Yeah, so the problem is that they weren't part of it. And Sony now does have the mind share of VR developers to get these games because they did support VR1 for a long time.
Well, they're going to support.
It did sell pretty well.
Jazz, they're going to support, especially when they know they've got a lot of units out there. You've got a lot of PS5s out there, so the potential is there for that. And the one point that really I want to drive home from what you were saying is that it's another avenue. So you've got it doesn't matter whether you like Xbox or PlayStation. That's irrelevant. You have to admit that PlayStation has had games coming out. Like I'm enjoying Forspoken, others aren't. That's fine. I'm not here to tell you to like it.
I beat it. It was incredible.
I'm enjoying it, and I dare anyone to play it and then say they didn't like it. Don't go by the 5 seconds you saw on Twitter. But nonetheless, there's games still coming out, and now at the end of February, yes, some of them are older games, but there's newer games there as well. There's another 35 games coming out or something like that, somewhere between 30 and 40 games coming out.
Right. Yep.
Right out the gate. So there's plenty to do. There's plenty to play. Some of them have free upgrades if you purchase them on PSVR1. The other ones you have to buy. But the point of the matter is that it just opens up the catalog. The catalog is there. So when you have a PlayStation, you have options. I'm not saying that you may say, Mooch, I don't care. I don't like them. That's fine. Shout out to the great Punk Kiddish, by the way. Punk said, Mooch, a little gaming news on the drive home. I think he's home by now. Shout out to Punk. Punk goes, listen, Mooch, it's not for me. I get motion sick. Listen, if you get motion sick and this isn't for you, it's not your bag. And that conversation,
I'm not telling everybody to buy one.
No, it ends right there. It ends right there. That's fun. The end of it. But shout out to Moneybag. He says Hi-Fi Rush was proposed in 2017. So you don't know. I think he said you don't know, but it doesn't say that. When development started, you do know tech or money put into Hi-Fi Rush. Absolutely. Moneybag comes back. He says, doesn't matter when idea started, it's when it finished. Sony fans praised Callisto for Forspoken because Sony helped. So give Xbox its credit for Hi-Fi Rush. Well, you could say that, but nobody says PlayStation made Callisto or made Forspoken.
Or Forspoken. I'm not sure where that came from.
So here's this is what I sort of wanted to say.
Go ahead,
about
everyone.
That, right? I think the problem that we get when we try to discuss when we get into these kind of conversations is who deserves credit for what. I don't know that it matters who gets credit for what, right? Because they own them now. They bought them in 2021.
No, it's still an Xbox Studios game. No, that's a fact you can't change. I was going off the conversation of them actually producing stuff consistently, and I was going off of that conversation and saying that we don't know what they're going to produce next under Xbox leadership. Even though Bethesda's supposed to be its own thing, I'm assuming Microsoft has some involvement there. I want them to start producing more games, but hearing Hi-Fi Rush was already a thing, production already happened back then. Yes, it's an Xbox game, but it doesn't prove what Bethesda's doing next with Xbox. That's what I want to see.
Right. So, I mean, the next we know the next 3 things they're doing, right? It's Starfield, Redfall, and at some point Indiana Jones.
Again, Starfield, Indiana Jones is the one that we're gonna see. That's an actual example. Starfield literally has a PlayStation 5 build that's been there, and obviously Axe and Sony wanted to get some exclusivity with that. That exists. So that's something that's been in development for a while. Maybe you can give it like, hey, it's been under Xbox leadership for a bit, but that was gonna be a multi-platform game released on everything. Same with Hi-Fi Rush as well.
Pete Hines actually said it. He said he wasn't considering exclusivity until Microsoft purchased them.
Yeah, so I'm saying Indiana Jones is an actual better example. Fable is different, something else, but that's still under Xbox. Those are upcoming examples that we're going to see what Xbox is doing going forward.
Right. So as it relates to like Bethesda stuff, I think the problem that we run into where it is, if a game comes out and it doesn't work, then it's Xbox's fault. But if it is good, then
what? No.
That's the Twitter Everborn. See, Everborn, that's the one thing. That's the one thing that I have to say has to stop. That's Twitter talk. That's Twitter. That's you go. That's not really. I think TC made a good point.
If Starfield comes out and it's not good, do we say that that is because it's under Xbox, or do we just say it just happens to not be good?
Good question.
No, it's just that's a good question. Bethesda game that was made, so Bethesda would take that heat a bit for me on my end.
Okay, well,
because they were building that game forever at this point, so it's on them to push it out. But we're talking forward.
It's just like what is that? Deathloop was considered an Xbox game, even though it wasn't even on Xbox. But everybody put that review code in all their Twitter things, going, Xbox quality, and it's like,
of the year.
Dude, you can't even play the game on an Xbox. Makes no sense.
Hold on, listen. Hi-Fi Rush was being developed before Xbox.
Right.
Yeah. They get credit for that.
Right.
Well, yeah, there you go.
The lead, just one.
No, but what he was referring to is literally Twitter talk. It's these Twitter people that every single time they do this for PlayStation and Xbox, regardless. It could be the most ridiculous thing that you read, but they'll say it. So when you bring them that conversation, who gets credit? Xbox, as people have pointed out, has been getting credit. They're under Xbox leadership. They literally won Publisher of the Year. So the thing about it for Starfield, whether it succeeds or doesn't succeed, I'm personally, not Twitter talk, putting that under the Bethesda situation. So going forward beyond that, let's see what Xbox can do. That's it, under Xbox leadership. There you go.
Absolutely. And so for me, even with any of these acquisitions, and I've said this publicly and privately, what I want to see is, for me, it is the new things that they create. So yes, Elder Scrolls
Hellblade 2. Hellblade 2 is a perfect example of an upcoming Xbox game that we've been waiting for, and that's fully Xbox. They acquired the studio.
And they've built Xbox the studio out. Right. They've given them the resources, and so
exactly.
Great
Hellblade 2 is a really good example.
Hellblade 2 is 100%. Yeah, Xbox funded it. They had the studio. It started when they were bought. So that's an Xbox game through and through, and it's going to be very good. It'll be very good.
One last thing on the Hi-Fi. Well, 2 things. I wanted to know if Chris Wright has played it, because I'm playing it right now. I'm like 10 hours into it. And the second thing is, there was never, and unless we don't believe him, but the game director said that there was never any console version before. Because they started.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's
you basically optimize for the different consoles afterwards. So you start it and it's all on PC. And
so for that conversation, you can literally look at any exclusive contract conversation. There's games that are timed exclusives for Xbox or PlayStation. They will literally deny anything else by saying, we can't say anything at this time, or we're currently focused on this thing, or something like that. They will not. They are owned by Xbox now. They will not mention anything in relation to PlayStation, period, even if it was there, period.
But there's a different thing from saying not mentioning it and saying explicitly there was never any PlayStation version, right? Unless we think that they're lying. Right?
That was Phil Spencer was right over his shoulder looking at
The snipers on him.
Yeah, the snipers on him.
The thing about it is like it's what you take as a lie, because I already know that all of these actually existed on different platforms, and we know timed exclusives exist on different platforms. I just know that off bat, obviously, they're not going to talk about the competition. It's in their contracts, I would assume. They're focused on the current build. And for Hi-Fi Rush, they could have said, yeah, we didn't have a console release, but then they had an Xbox release. When did they start making that? Because Bethesda was acquired in 2021.
No. But so when you're developing for a game, you target the platforms later on in the process.
But
right?
I would assume there would have to be some type of development for those specific platforms, the tools,
no,
the
but
SDKs
they've
you get involved with.
explicitly said that there was nothing for PlayStation, and this is the director of the game. This is why I'm saying in this case, Hi-Fi Rush.
No, that's even better. That's even better. So I didn't see that, but if they said there wasn't a PlayStation build,
they didn't. They said there was no console version.
No console version at
all.
all.
So it's back to the original conversation.
Sorry.
So it's back to the original conversation of me saying that literally they're not going to mention anything that could indicate that there was a PlayStation build. There's no way in my mind that it makes any sense, even for yourself logically, that a game like Hi-Fi Rush was going to be a Bethesda game released exclusively for
a Switch
PC.
game.
It could have been a Switch game too.
I think it'd be crazy on the Switch.
It would be at home at Switch.
Yeah.
That's not really what it says though, right? It says that you do not have any deals in place at that time, so you're not targeting any consoles. And then once you have your console deals with, maybe PlayStation is going to do an exclusive, you don't know, but there's no build. They hadn't started that discussion yet. They were only building, prototyping, and all of that is not console specific. So at the time of the acquisition, they had not even begun any discussions with anyone about console. So
they made the Xbox version.
Yeah, but you know, it shouldn't matter because
2022.
Phil said that he wasn't buying Bethesda to take games away from anybody else, and that's what he seems to be doing.
You don't want to get into that. That's a whole.
Right?
That's another.
Yeah, I'm just saying this would be great on the Switch.
I don't think it's that big of a game to take a very long time to.
I was going to say that, Chris.
But then they're going to go back to the point of Phil Spencer saying they don't have incentive to actually make their games.
I mean, I don't even know how we even got to.
When he said that, I called BS, bro. You have incentive.
In terms of, hold on, y'all gotta all I was saying in terms of, when people saying that, we're gonna, give Microsoft credit for this, in terms of, I think it was Everboard saying the whole thing with Starfield, and Starfield, comes out and it's not good. Are you gonna blame Microsoft or Bethesda or whatever?
Right.
Who gets the credit for that or whatever? And all I was saying from the community that I've always heard, they give the credit to everything else, right? Just like when I brought up the whole, Skyrim Anniversary Edition being the first $70 Switch game, people were like, well, nah, that was, Bethesda, blah, blah, blah. It's like, nope, that was last year in 2022. Microsoft gets the credit for that too as well, but
that's what I mean. You got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
if Starfield is a flop, it's on Microsoft, and if this was a flop, it would have been on Microsoft.
To my point, I played this game is polished as hell. Yep. This game is really awesome. Like the music integration and the story. This thing is really a great game. And my thing is that where is the vision that they should have put marketing behind this? They should have advertised this thing, and they seem to just not know what to do with good games and stealth drop it without and thinking that doesn't show confidence.
But didn't that work out like really well for them?
Well,
right?
I think it did, but I think that it didn't show confidence in the game because why would they just drop it? First off, they didn't even announce it 2 weeks before when they said what was going to be there, and then Aaron Greenberg was like, I can't say this more enough. This is what's going to be there. And he reiterated what was in that press release. And they didn't even say new game from Tango Gameworks. They didn't even allude to a new game announcement. Right. They just dropped it. And I think they made out, definitely. I think it was a cool thing. But, if you need to, this game, I think should have been shown at the Game Awards as something to be like, dude, here it is, and get a marketing behind it, and even put more money behind it, because this is actually what we need from them. And they just basically dump it out there, but they don't talk. They don't show half the other games that people want to see. But this thing, somebody should have said, hey, we got a hit right here. Let's really put our money behind it. When 60 billion or whatever the hell we can do, let's make this a franchise. Let's make this a character.
So I have a theory with
you drop it out in the afternoon.
So I have a theory with that. I'm not saying this is exactly what happened, but Microsoft is on different waters when it comes to Game Pass. So I think they stealth released it as a new way of testing the waters to see how well this works with the Game Pass model, and just stealth dropping it, like almost like an artist release an album out of nowhere. Drake's drop.
Like Beyonce does that all the time.
Yeah, it drops an album out of nowhere. It
Xbox
catches fire attention. People start playing it. They're engaging on the streams and stuff like that.
They should be so lucky.
I think,
hey man, I got Halo.
Halo.
No, yeah,
no. TC, I think you're straight on point, and a lot of people, a lot of people kind of apply the traditional rules. But I think when you have a service like this, like a day one service, you get to do certain things like this and try your hand at it, because ultimately, right, you stealth drop it. But if you're already in Game Pass, and that's 25 plus million people, that's the last number we got. Unless we listen to Jim Ryan, and it's 29 million. Like, that's nearly 30 million people that you can, with no barrier of entry, and I only say no barrier of entry because they're already paying for Game Pass.
No, you have to wait. There's a
pay for it.
$500
Hi-Fi Rush.
$500 Everborn. Don't forget $500 console you have to buy first.
No, you can play it in the cloud. Oh, you can play it in the cloud.
Right. Okay, so $1,100 phone.
So be able to do it.
So you already got a phone.
So an $1,100 phone.
You had to pay for that phone.
$1,100 phone.
But you didn't pay for the phone for that.
$1,100 phone, but go ahead.
Nah, you can't.
Yes, you can't have both ways
no,
there,
you didn't buy
Everborn.
the phone for anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Anyway, you get
the strap-on
different
and the controller.
opportunities to sort of do things like this and have it potentially be. Again, Jez, you're right. They lucked out. They didn't know how this was going to do, but it worked out really well. And it worked out well because you have 30 million people that have no barrier of entry, and you can say, hey, let me try it. And if you wow them, then they start talking about it, and then it
goes viral.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
it even affected Steam too, because then it was selling like crazy on Steam and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a great game. Like it is.
It's fun.
I've been playing it, man. It is a really polished game
right now. I love it, and it doesn't feel. I say this as an Xbox guy. It doesn't feel like an Xbox game.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It's really polished.
My very best friend loves Xbox. He lives and breathes it. Okay, we yell at each other constantly. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm a huge PlayStation fan. He said that this is the coolest game that Xbox has published in 10 years. And I was like, yeah.
I mean,
he's close to being right. I mean, Ori was big, but not that. Like, it's not.
Yeah,
Ori had
Ori was phenomenal.
But that wasn't a first party though. But that was a good deal from like what they consider a first party. But that wasn't like an in-house studio. But they did a great job with that too. Yeah, Ori was good.
Yeah, I just want more of this from Xbox. So and bigger. Yeah. So,
I want bigger.
I'm waiting for Ghostwire Tokyo 2, personally.
I really didn't care for Ghostwire Tokyo 2.
Did you guys like High on Life?
I enjoyed it.
I did not. I did not
don't
care
like
for
that.
High on
I played the VR version of their game. You know, the guy that Accounting Plus.
I played.
Yeah, they had another one. Trover Saves the World, or you?
Trover. Yeah, they had that one. Yeah, I played the Trover Saves the World and Accounting Plus. It was like some VR thing, like the same kind of humor and stuff. And after a while, it just wore on me, so I wasn't interested in Hi-Fi.
Right?
Not Hi-Fi. I mean, the other one.
Yeah, you're talking High on Life.
High on Life. Yeah.
I don't
know. So for me, High on Life in December, and then this in January is a great start. They still have to do bigger games, right?
Yeah. High on Life for me personally wasn't a highlight.
Yeah.
I loved High on Life, but
the thing for me, High on Life was one of the most repetitive games I've played in a while, with similar enemies and just you going to different places doing the same thing over and over again. The jokes, they were I wasn't hating the jokes at the beginning. Even if you go back to my tweets, I enjoyed them at the beginning. But over a while, it's like, I don't care about these conversations. Don't make me sit here and watch this girl argue with this random alien and just sit here and press this conversation. I don't care. I didn't care about the characters. They had some emotional parts at the end. It affected me nowhere at all. And then it was just more repetition of doing the same thing over and over again. But the game has some good core stuff.
Did you beat it? Did you?
Yeah,
or did you get far into it?
I beat it.
I got to the fourth boss. And I just didn't have the will to come back to it. It was just
I finished the game.
I did not finish.
For me, I was like a high on life hater in the beginning. I was like, it's too basic.
No, I enjoyed it
like,
at the beginning. I was like, what is everybody talking about?
Everyone.
Right,
I liked it.
It was the reverse for me, right? Because I think they took too long to roll out your feature set, but by the end, when you're wall running and grappling and doing all those things and dashing and all that, and you got all those abilities, that's when it kind of it clicked.
That was a plus. That was a plus in my books. But then again, those upgrades that they have there are very mundane. It's like just kind of increasing the same thing that you're already doing, and each of the guns have something similar. More ammo, it's like very mundane stuff. But I did like the jetpack, and I think there was also a grapple hook as well. And I enjoyed those things, but it sucks that those things were a part of levels of you literally fighting very similar the G3, whatever they're called, over and over and over and over. It's the same type of enemies in different areas, different biomes, and they had so much potential to do something amazing in terms of because like I enjoyed the visuals of the game as well. It's just that it was a very mundane game after a while. It was kind of mind-numbing.
The
after
visuals
a while
were nice.
To play that.
You know, Moneybag97 in the chat here. This is one of the ones this is the things that make me scratch my head. I have so many things I want to say, and I don't think I can get it done in a 2-hour show. He says, Hi-Fi Rush sold 3-1 over Forspoken, so it's successful. Let's give it credit. How do I put this? I think you already heard everybody on the panel say, we're enjoying Hi-Fi Rush. Hi-Fi Rush is a phenomenal game. It's also not on the scope and caliber of like a Forspoken game. I mean, anyone who's played Forspoken knows what I'm talking about. If you haven't played Forspoken, then you don't know what I'm talking about. I've played both. I haven't beat either. I'm actually pretty far along in Forspoken, and I'm on to the third or fourth stage. Here, I will finish Hi-Fi Rush. I think Hi-Fi Rush is very good. It just happened to come out when Forspoken was coming out, and I was doing a review for it, so all that good stuff. But I don't necessarily, I think even Everborn said it, and I don't want to put words in his mouth or Jez's or TC's, but I think when you look at Hi-Fi Rush, I love this. It's polished. Give me more of it and make it a larger scope. It needs to be a bigger game. You know, because
sequel would do this wonders for the series. I just feel like this.
Say again, Kobe?
I feel like a bigger sequel like you're describing could be one of those franchises that you associate with the Xbox.
Yeah, bring it on.
Like, hey,
yeah, man, they should have saw this coming a mile away, dude.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
This is very good.
Could you imagine
it's very good.
Could you imagine a Hi-Fi Rush sequel that has all the combat and the sort of set pieces and all that, but then you add sort of that traversal of say
like
Sunset Overdrive or you know, Jet Set Radio, like
and throw a co-op in there.
I don't know.
Oh yeah, we'd be duets. We'd be doing duet riffs.
That's not a bad idea.
Adding more music to it, I think, would be really cool. So,
or then you get a mini game showdown guitar solo.
Yeah, I don't. You know, a lot of people really don't give. So I guess Forspoken. What was it? I know. Shout out to the great Zuby Tech who was in the chat earlier.
Whatever.
I think
Forspoken
last month
reviews, they could shove them up their ass. I'm telling you right now, that is no 4 or 5 or 6. Or those guys did. After I beat that game, I was like, they didn't play this game.
They didn't play the
reviewers
game.
Didn't play. They did not play the game. They did not play this game.
The combat system is phenomenal. Don't go by the few seconds you saw of the talking on there. That's not at all. I said this on the show a few weeks ago.
First hour, dude.
The first hour, 2 hours really puts things in perspective. But it even puts things in perspective as the story. It's not just rambling or just nonsense or just one-liners. The story on it's deep. It's got a nice. Like I say, I think it's deep enough. It's not deep.
Wait, Mooch, I don't know if you got to the part, but wait, it gets deep. I'm gonna tell you the big problem with the game that I gotta tell you right now is that they could have done a much more, and maybe coming off of God of War with the single camera going around, but they did too many fades to black and just weird camera movements that really took you out of the story that they were trying to tell.
The fade to black after every single scene that is not at all.
That was not good.
That's a 10-year-old a practice in the gaming, in the developing world. Not that I'm a developer.
That SSD.
Come on, that's ridiculous. But at the same time, I encourage people, wait for a sale, by the way. Guys, wait for a sale. Don't go spend $70. I don't care. Get it for $20. Get it used at GameStop. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte.
There you
go to your local GameStop. Be like, I'd like a used copy of Forspoken. And guess what? Enjoy that game. It's a very good game. And it's just, you know what? I think I'm getting closer and closer to saying it's this generation's Days Gone. You know?
I agree.
And
oh wow, that's a big wow. Okay, I didn't understand the hate with Days Gone when that first came out because that's one of my favorite games.
I platinum. I love Days Gone, and everybody said it sucked, and I was like, I didn't think it sucked. I was like, I thought it was a good. It wasn't my favorite. It wasn't my favorite game of last gen, but it was definitely a good game.
Nah, for me, it was one of my favorites, but I'm a sucker for zombies. And this was an open world zombie game. Oh my goodness, they had me by I don't know what you call
was intrigued. There, like I said earlier on the show, I said every week, I love the zombie stuff. But let me do it. So we have roughly a little bit more than actually, I'm going to try and keep going. I'm going to barrel through some of these topics here. I'll start with Everborn. So Everborn, we started talking about it. I do want to kind of get into a bit, but I don't want to spend, there's so many topics I want to get into. And we have the great Chris Righteous and Kofi here to talk about the whole Nintendo Direct as well. But the Activision deal, I'm curious about your opinion. I see some of the things that you tweet out and you write about, and I'm interested. I don't think there's necessarily any wrong answer, but where are you right now? On this show, we've had a lot of people on the show in the past year. Everyone's like, this is going through. It's never getting blocked. It's a done deal. I've been told everything. I've been told everything under the sun, that this would never, ever get any type of hesitation. Then we saw the FTC. Then we saw the EU. Now we're seeing the CMA. And every time it happens and somebody says they're going to either they have a problem with it, literally everybody on Twitter 5 seconds later, well, this is a good thing. This is a good thing. Clearly, it's a good thing. And I'm like, how is this a good thing after the third roadblock? So, Everborn, where are you on this? I don't know. I want to hear it right from you. Are you in the camp that this is a good thing, that it's blocked and it's going to court, and there's so many people saying that they, so many different organizations saying they're against it? Or do you think that it's not a good thing and really Microsoft should take their money and invest it into what they got and make some games?
Well, I actually think that, personally, I'm not high on the Activision deal.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it should go through, but if I'm spending that money and I needed to buy a publisher for content, I would have bought Sega or
right. I agree.
I won't bore everybody with that, but
no, I agree. I agree with
you. So that my personal feelings aside, I still think it goes through. I think, and again, we don't know what regulators are going to do, but what I do know is from the outset, Microsoft said it would take 18 months, right? And if they projected 18 months, that means even they didn't think it was going to sail through with no phase 2 and no negotiation periods and things like that. I don't know what they're willing to give up, because something no one talks about, I think that they want Activision and they want this asset not only for gaming, I think they want it for the data. A lot of people don't know that Activision has a pretty sizable advertising business.
Yeah.
And people also don't pay attention to this because it's outside of gaming. So, I don't blame them. But Microsoft just bought Xandr, and they are they're sort of a CTV OTT ad provider. And what that is the ads that you see like when you're watching Hulu or something on your smart TV.
Yes.
So and that space is comprised of your Apple TV, your smart TV, your Fire Stick, your Roku, and wait for it, consoles, right? That's where a lot of people watch TV when they're not gaming. And that ad space is somewhere where Google and Facebook do not really play heavily. So Microsoft's Xandr purchase and their Netflix deal, and the fact that it's becoming a lot harder for people to collect data from cookies on the web, because when you go to a website now, cookies are not on by default. Those cookies are so they can track you to serve ads to you. So the best way to have a large ad business is to have first-party data. But in order to have first-party data, you have to have a platform. Microsoft, apart from LinkedIn, doesn't really have a platform to target ads to people, right? Facebook has it because everybody's on Facebook and Instagram. So they have they have all your info. They know what you like. They target ads to you. Google has it because everybody's on Google and YouTube. Microsoft doesn't have something like that. So with Activision and their 400 million monthly active users, I'm just telling you why they want this thing, and it's bigger than gaming. And I think they're going to do whatever they have to do for regulators to allow them to keep it.
So I love what you said, everyone. So everyone, one of the things and it's out there, and I'm paraphrasing, but one of the things was the CMA was saying in order to remedy the situation and move forward with it, to sell off either not just Call of Duty, but they even mention WoW, and they also mention some other Blizzard games. They say to sell these games off, and then because Microsoft does want King, and they want the things that I believe Everborn was just saying.
I don't think they just want that, though. If that's a hard stop, and the CMA will not entertain behavioral remedies, which are things like the 10-year deal and expanding that and maybe making it more robust.
Yeah.
If Microsoft can't get this thing whole, I know they say they only wanted it for PC and mobile.
Yeah.
I think that was a bold-faced lie. That's just my opinion. I think if they can't get it all together, and again, there are ways around this, right?
I like where you're going, Everborn. I like where you're going.
You want a structural remedy, we will sell the publishing rights in the UK. So just like The Witcher in the US was WB that published it, but in Europe it was Bandai Namco, right? It would be that kind of thing that they could mix with their 10-year deals and potentially get regulators to go for it. So if they can get that to work, they do it. I don't think Microsoft takes this thing if they have to walk away. And I say this as someone who does not care about this deal at all. I wish they would have bought Sega. I even think they could be in a position to help out Ubisoft, because what Ubisoft needs is to get that trending division out of there, because that's where creativity goes to die, because Ubisoft sort of says, well, what's trending right now? You can only make a game that has that. And then they're basically exploiting Assassin's Creed and all that. And what Microsoft can provide that we know is money and time, and just let them do what they do. And I think Ubisoft could be great again, and it wouldn't be anything that would be a huge shift in the industry like that, and it probably would have closed in like 6 months.
And you would have got almost no pushback at all on that.
Right. And people say, oh, they have 20,000 employees. So what? Microsoft has 23 studios. They could put those support studios to work on Microsoft games. So I think that is a more suitable match. And again, Sega, because I would love to see Sega.
So you know what? So let me just say this, Everborn. By the way, bravo. Love the way you put that, and I like it. Now, Jez, let me tell you why I like what Everborn said. This is a lot of what we heard, right? What I said earlier. Oh, they just want mobile. They just want King. They just want this, right? They want Call of Duty. Okay, they want Call of Duty.
They want the data specifically,
right? Well, they want the data.
Microsoft as a company, because remember they do a bunch of things. They don't spend this much money unless they're making. Like, gaming is cute, right? And I want you guys to understand this. Gaming's cute. If they get Activision, they'll be making $25 billion a year in revenue based on what Xbox is making right now. That would make gaming at Microsoft bigger than Windows. That doesn't mean shit. Sorry if I can't curse or not. Right now, their ad business is $18 billion, and that's Bing. And now they just did this ChatGPT thing. But Google's ad business does nearly $200 billion in revenue a year. That's the kind of money they're talking about, and that's why you spend $70 billion. It isn't just to be number one in gaming, making $25-30 billion a year.
Right.
It's to make $100 billion, and that's a piece of that puzzle.
So
I don't see how the deal works for them if they can't get
Everborn. I think you make some very solid points. Shout out to the great Kratos99. Kratos, thank you so much. I have to take a second here to say thanks for that super chat. You gave way too much. You're outstanding. Thank you so much. He says here, Mooch, Microsoft admitted that Game Pass hurts sales. The lies that comes out of their mouth, I can't stand it. Kratos, thank you for that super chat. It means the world to me. I appreciate you being here. Shout out to Crap Gamer. Crap's here as well.
Can I just say to that, I always find it hilarious when people do and don't care about lies. But go ahead.
Well, here's when they care about them. They care about them when it's consistent when it comes to a lot of the stuff that's come out of Microsoft. I know that there's lying Jim Ryan, right? We know about that, and he's definitely done it. Right, exactly. Would you call him, Jez?
Jim Dance Moves.
Oh, Everborn, you said it. It's Dance Moves. No, he's definitely, he's
I call him Gordon Ramsay. That's
Gordon Ramsay.
Jim Gordon Ramsay
has definitely done his fair share of like the generations thing and things like that. But there's a lot of things that Phil's come out and said.
But he did say the best line ever is like, enough of me, let the games do the talking. Which, that was enough for me to know that Jim Ryan
Ryan gets this deal blocked, The man
He's not
deserves
blocking
a
it though,
yacht.
dude. He's not blocking it. This is like they're worried about cloud and the infrastructure of like what they're gonna do in leveraging this IP and all the stuff that you were saying. I agree. I know that there's alternative motives with Microsoft, and I think another one too is to get Call of Duty and everything on their servers, on their cloud, because Call of Duty, King, and also Activision partnered with Google Cloud. And they're not using Azure Cloud. And that's what Microsoft did with Minecraft. They moved everything from Minecraft onto their Azure clouds. So they want, and like you said, that's probably where they grab the data. It's on their cloud. They can now collect even more data. So that's probably another kind of backdoor thing that they want to probably do is to take all that stuff.
Potential.
Yeah, because you see, like there's Amazon Web Services, there's Google, and then there's the Azure cloud. So that's definitely something they probably want to do, which is another reason why you go after the publisher and not the game. Because if it was just about Call of Duty, they would have, outbidded Sony or try to get Call of Duty on their platform. But it's not about that. You got to own the publisher so you could influence where they're building that game and or what cloud, what technology they're going to use. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with that stuff. I think that, the way this deal is going, I think that they were probably surprised how the industry wasn't patting them on the back with this stuff, and people actually had issues with it. But again, I just think that's a little bit of ignorance there, because you're basically tapping into everybody's money and source of revenue. Like Google makes bank. Look at the Activision earnings. Like Google makes bank on Call of Duty Mobile, and now Microsoft's like, well, we're going to start our own mobile store, and then and put the Candy Crush and Call of Duty. And start with those, and that's like taking money right out of Google's pocket. Same thing with Sony. Sony loses any negotiations that they have with Call of Duty as a franchise, which really propel them in the PS4 to kind of get all those exclusive stuff. In addition, all those sales on the platform.
Right now. They got one of the best.
Well, yeah, and I think that will be a flex move that if Microsoft decides to do any finagling with Call of Duty, I think you're going to see a retaliation with a Bungie stuff, and who knows, because I do think. But if you look, Sony basically left Bungie alone. They're like, here you go. They didn't have any of this issues. But the problem is Sony's so small compared to Microsoft. This is not Xbox buying Activision. This is Microsoft, $1 trillion buying a big known franchise and the biggest publisher. These are two big entities coming together. This is not, Sony is very small compared to the size of Microsoft. And Microsoft has a history of antitrust stuff. So that's why there's all these concerns with a lot of these things, that what they're going to do. And I could tell you, one of the things that doesn't help Microsoft is everything they're doing with Bethesda. That's not a very good example of what they plan. If they're like, hey, we'll never touch Call of Duty, we don't have any incentive to take it away everywhere. They said the same thing about Bethesda stuff, and they wound up doing it. They said it would not, unless it really drove their service, they would not. There was no reason for them to take Bethesda games, because they don't sell that much and take them off competing platforms. And that's exactly what they did.
This is from The Verge right here. This was, I just want to say February 8th. Okay. The great, terrible Tom Warren. He says the CMA has now suggested a set of possible remedies that Microsoft could take to get the approval for Activision Blizzard acquisition in the UK. They include a suggestion for a structural remedy that involves a partial, basically, separation of Activision Blizzard in the form of selling off the Call of Duty business. Other remedies include selling off the Activision segment or the Activision and Blizzard segments. That would include the business associated with Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, and other games. It's right there. And, I got to be honest with you, I'm not saying a deal won't go through, but it will not go through the way it's currently written. There's no way.
Well, that's not the behavioral one.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That's the structural one.
Then there's the behavioral ones, which they got to look at. It's down the document. And then that's where they'll have to look at that 10-year thing, or like Microsoft has to, and that has to be some like legal documents, and they have to convince them that they'll do a behavioral contingency to the thing. Mm-hmm. Like maybe we just won't touch Call of Duty. It will stay wherever it is, and that's it. We will not touch that franchise, but we will do everything with everything else. So we will see. But I don't know. But that's a behavioral one. But the structural one will be an easier one for the CMA, because then they don't have to follow and worry about and enforce Call of Duty, because they won't be part of Microsoft. They prefer that one probably. But the behavioral one is the one that they're going to have to kind of wine and dine them, and that's
right. Jez, I'll tell you what I think. What the way they get that to work, and probably what the CMA wants in the first place. They say, hey, we don't want to have to monitor this thing. It's going to cost us UK dollars, taxpayer dollars. You're going to pay us to monitor this thing and make sure you stay on your P's and Q's. And then Microsoft slides them some money, and everybody goes, you know,
that's like self-regulation. I don't know. Yeah, but like, but I do think
that effect.
I do, and that's the thing. Like, the one thing though that will affect this, and Mooch is saying with the deal not going through or going through, I think Microsoft right now is in a situation where this has to go through for them. Like, I think this is their swing for the fences. They're in this, and I think they're going to make this happen no matter what.
Yeah, but what's
like,
the
they
what?
even
What's
offer
the
Sony
what,
to
though,
throw it in their service. They're like, put it in your service.
So
we don't care.
They offered.
They offered.
That's
exactly. There's a bigger picture for them. They want
the thing. So
the retirement plan.
But Sony,
basically.
I don't think Sony's interested enough for putting it in PS Plus, because the money that they make right now, as COD currently stands, they wouldn't make that same money if they threw it into PS Plus.
Yeah, they're not interested in it. Sony's going to be very stingy, very, very pushing back on everything and making Microsoft have to, you know, adjust their stuff, because, you know, not only the CMA be satisfied, but they're going to get input from other developers. Now you see they also subpoenaed Nintendo, they subpoenaed Google, and not Microsoft. Activision, I think, did subpoenaed Nintendo. But like, yeah, so they're calling all hands on deck for this to see, and you know, and try to get information on what they can do to kind of accommodate this. That's what you do with regulatory agencies. Like, they make the rules. You can say the CMA is corrupt, whatever the hell it is, but that's a regulatory agency. They make the rules, and that's their perception. And whatever,
in other words, it's ass-kissing time.
Yeah, you gotta accommodate them and make them happy. And that's basically what Microsoft's in right now. Is they are in. We gotta appease them at whatever thing. So we gotta take care of it, because this is we're not gonna change their mind.
I know.
And what's crazy is that it's all about Call of Duty, which is crazy. What about all the ass grabbing that went on with Kodak and all that other stuff? And Microsoft's supposed to clean house and fix them all up and put them on training programs about like this fraternity, all that stuff. What happened? None of that stuff's important. It's like Call of Duty. It's just crazy how like there's a lot of stuff here, and Microsoft probably prefers that. Hey, it's just about Call of Duty. Meanwhile, we're gonna get all this other stuff, and you know,
it's almost like Call of Duty.
I do want to say something about Bobby K.
Yes,
dude, that guy.
Bobby K.
Bobby K.
It is super interesting to me that it seems like right now Phil Spencer's kind of in witness protection. Right? Like, he has not said.
He hasn't said a thing. No,
right?
They put a gag order on him.
Right, because if you look at the reports, they're quoting him in any interview he ever made. So they're basically like, shut the F up. But the hilarious thing is that they're putting out Bobby Kotick on every news organization that will listen to him to talk about it. So basically, he's kind of the spokesperson at this moment. What I wanted to say about this is, if the deal does go through, I know a lot of people are expecting, he's gone day one. I would not be surprised if they kept him on for a while for the duration of the integration.
Yeah.
And they're still integrating
I think if the deal goes through, I think eventually he goes, though, Everborn. But I agree with you.
It'll be years, though.
It could be a couple of years.
Really? You think it's going to stay that long?
Years.
It could be.
Wow.
It could.
I
It depends
wouldn't be surprised.
This isn't just
they were protesting one in his ass. Like, he would have been gone that year if this wasn't for this deal. They bought him time.
I mean, don't get me wrong. You guys could be right, but the reason I say Everborn's got a point, and he may be there a little bit longer than we all think, is because this isn't just handing off a ham sandwich. You know what I mean? This is legitimately this is a big company. Phil can't just come in day one. He's already having a hard time dealing with the company, the developing teams he has.
Another 100 years.
Yeah, here's another 20,000 people, Phil. Oh, thanks. Thank you. So I want to ask.
Everborn's running this thing. He drops Activision. He drops Activision. Let Bobby Kotick run that as a separate company, and then Everborn picks up Sega and Ubisoft and calls it a day, or drop the whole thing and get Sega and Ubisoft if you're lucky.
I do like where Everborn's going with that. We don't hear that enough, Everborn. We do not.
No, but
I
do agree. Like, Microsoft should have used their money wisely and actually go to companies that could offer new games and Japanese games and new stuff to them, rather than going after a game that's being there. Every game that they make is going to be on an Xbox platform.
And at the end of the day, if the concessions go through and the deal goes through, PlayStation's still going to have Call of Duty. So, as we always say, it's why you don't see PlayStation guys bragging about the Bungie deal. Nothing on PlayStation's coming. There's nothing coming for PlayStation exclusively on that. And with this deal, if WoW and and all of a sudden, WoW goes to console, that is. But if the Blizzard games continue to go to PlayStation and the Call of Duties go to PlayStation, you know, it's just
regulators
okay,
don't
whatever.
want any competitive advantage from this, right?
No.
Like none. It's like every Activision game, just to get the deal over the line, is sort of going to be forced to keep status quo on everything, and that's the only way they convince the regulators. So
yeah.
I don't think there's any, like, other than maybe getting into the Game Pass, and it seems like they probably want to bar COD from Game Pass. I don't know, right? Just
at least the old
just
ones
to get the deal over the line.
At least the old
right?
games, the old Call of Duty.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not really much to brag about. It's great for Microsoft and their pockets.
It's good for them in their pocket.
I mean, I got some Microsoft stock, but I'm not
really that big of a deal for. Yeah, it's really.
He's gonna cash out. He's gonna cash out every deal.
I got some Activision stock too. I'm hoping it goes through.
Well, yeah, you probably don't like that drop. Like that's another thing. Like I feel like if the industry, if the only way that anything really changes their mind is that if their stockholders, their stakeholders and stuff think that this deal is not worth it, and you start seeing stock fall, and like the business, like people just fed up. It doesn't, after the concessions are made and the CMA may counter and they want all this stuff, it's gonna be like, what is the purpose of owning them? And Microsoft needs to be a bit more transparent. I think the other thing they made a mistake on is that they continue to say this is great for gamers, this is great for publishers, all publishers and stuff, but they have not spoke about how it is. They just say it like, trust me, dude, this is good. But why is it good? What are you gonna do to make it better, to make it good, and make it different than what it is now? They haven't even spoke about it at all.
I can try to answer both of those things. I'm not like speaking for Microsoft, but
as a stockholder, answer those questions, please.
No, I don't own that much stock. But so to the first question, I don't think Activision shareholders walk away from this, and the reason being, if you look at the market and where it was in January of 2022, by and large, the gaming and the tech industry and much of just the Dow Jones, right, has gone down nearly 30%, right? Everyone has gone down except, I know Activision is not sitting at 95, it's like 75 right now.
Yeah.
But they were at something like $68 at the time of the announcement of the deal. And ever since then, everyone has gone down. And the only reason they're sitting at 75 is because, you know, there's arbitrage plays that are investing in the deal, hoping that it goes through. So I think the stock will have a correction to the levels, and they would see basically the loss that everyone else has seen if the deal doesn't go through. So meaning the stock would take a massive hit, right? And $95 a share is still the most sure thing, especially if it's all cash. I think the real fear is if Microsoft, the shareholders there, are like, listen, AI is big right now. Why are we even fighting this and having antitrust eyeballs on us when we've been able to steer clear for that for 20 years? I think the real risk is the July deadline gets here and the Microsoft shareholders say, is this still worth this much to us?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's the only way. Yeah, Activision stock dropping, but I mean, like the Microsoft shareholders talking about the deal.
Let me ask you guys a question. Moneybag97 comes in here with a super chat, by the way, and he says, I want the deal to go through because devs want it. But he asks the question, what will happen if the deal fails? Does COD die and Activision crash? No. Did you see how much money Call of Duty just made? Wasn't the number staggering that came out a few weeks ago? They reported it.
Mooch, we got a Sledgehammer version supposedly coming this year. That's not good news.
But, that's the other thing I was going to ask you guys. Go ahead, everyone.
Mooch, not to kind of keep beating the Ubisoft drum, right? But if they went for Ubisoft, aside from not having to deal with almost any of this regulatory stuff, they would actually be saving that company. Activision would be fine if they didn't have this Microsoft deal. Ubisoft may actually die. And rather than Ubisoft dying, I'd rather see, Microsoft get a bunch of devs and put that stuff in Game Pass and whatever. That's the kind of acquisition I like to see versus, like, I'm not hating on the deal. I think it should go through. I think if there's a way to put some pressure on Sony because they're just kind of dominate, I think that's a net positive, right? So that's why I root for it. But again, it doesn't excite me. But I think what would be better for everybody is and the kid in me wants a Sega purchase.
No, I hear you. You know, and it's funny because everyone was saying, especially with the thought that again, this is what I said when this deal was announced, everyone was like, oh, it's going through. So then there was talk that Call of Duty wouldn't have a release this year, right? Well, does it? I'm just asking the question because God forbid you ask a question. The question I'd say is now they're saying, Tom Henderson and a few others were reporting. I believe it was Tom. If it wasn't Tom, it was somebody else. But they're saying that now that like Jez was just saying, we're gonna have a Call of Duty this fall. Does that mean that they're feeling the deal probably won't go through, so they're not going to have Microsoft money to kind of extend the wait? They got to get a game out, right? It's the same thing like I was saying Everborn earlier. When you're an independent company, someone's got to pay for the lights. So if that's their moneymaker, where before we thought that Microsoft was going to...
They'll be counting $70 billion. And
yeah, they
like,
thought they were going to be counting
$70
billion. Like, I don't think that $70 billion is going to go... that check might bounce, boss. All right, well, in that case...
said the way my bank account is set up.
Yeah, they were like, well, get Treyarch up and running.
They get Sledgehammer. They're like, get that.
Get Sledgehammer. Where's Sledgehammer? Well, they took a vacation. No! Get back! We got shit to do. Shut up.
Make a game, hurry.
Hurry up and make a game. Use the one I told you sucked. All right, DC Gaming is here. Shout out to the great DC Gaming. He says, ABK just needs new leadership, and they'd be okay. We all know if Bobby K was not with that company, this deal would have never happened, but nobody wants to say that for some reason. Yeah, DC, I saw what you were saying earlier. That did make some sense. Well, no, crap. That's, it was, so Crap says there was always going to be a COD release. It was a ridiculous rumor that there wouldn't be one. I agree. I completely agree with that. That was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard, but everyone was saying, well, Mooch, it makes sense. Microsoft comes in, they can afford it. They can afford, just like everything else. They can afford Game Pass not doing well. They can afford this not doing well. They can afford this and that. They can afford this. They can afford that. That's all I keep hearing. They can afford. They can afford. They can afford.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, though.
Well, Mooch, they said that you got to.
I agree with you, careful. I agree.
Because
go ahead, Jess.
They want to be careful that this might be just a Modern Warfare like big expansion that adds like to the story and like a bunch of maps packs and stuff like that. So this might be like they're calling it a next Call of Duty, but it might not be in the same vein as we've been getting.
That might be, but I still think it might be a new game, Jez. I still think it may be a new game. And I agree with Crap. I think
it might be a new game or just an expansion or like a big sequel to what we got last year, like more stuff.
Well, they're saying it was maybe it was Jason.
So let me chime into this.
Let's go, DC.
I was personally hoping this Activision conversation wouldn't last as long as it did because we've been like talking about it for so
I want to get to Chris Righteous with the
we've talked about it every
stuff.
time. I don't know if it lands perfectly. Every time I've come on the show, we've talked about this Activision.
That's not my fault, TC.
But
that's not my fault. It's in the news.
Yeah, no, I know because people will come up with their theories on what they think Microsoft wants it for, what their dealings are behind the scenes, and it all comes down to whether you want the deal to go through or not. But when it comes to this Call of Duty thing, I don't want it to go through either. I've already made my claims to death, as people know on Twitter and on here. But for the Call of Duty thing, people might call it a rumor, but I've been following Call of Duty news for a very long time. And the people who are reporting on some of the Call of Duty rumors, and it's changed over the years, but these people have been very accurate. So what this was originally supposed to be year 2 content for Modern Warfare.
Right.
And really what it seems like happened, according to the reports, I call them reports because the people behind them, like Tom Henderson, are very, very accurate people when it comes to this information.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty stuff, even though Tom Henderson said, take rumors as
I think it's Tom Henderson, by the way. I don't want to
said that as well.
I think it was
Tom. It is Tom Henderson. It is Tom Henderson.
I thought it was.
And the thing about it is, it seems like the conversation is that later on they decided to make this another Call of Duty by Sledgehammer. Sledgehammer is already working on. All the developers were already working on Modern Warfare, but we'll see how this actually gets played out when they reveal it later this year. And wait, that's my.
Oh, there it is. Tom Henderson's calling.
That's Tom.
He's like, false.
Get Tom on the phone, please.
But wait, what is the last one that Sledgehammer made? It wasn't last year's, right?
No, that was
World War II.
Treyarch?
Did they do the World War II one?
It was Black Ops in Black Ops Cold War in 2020. Then it was the World War II.
I thought they did
that was Treyarch.
Vanguard. No, Vanguard is Sledgehammer Games, and then you have
that's
Infinity
the bad
Ward.
one, and that's the one they're coming out this year. So they're actually doing they're not on a 3-year cycle; they're on a 2-year cycle.
This was supposed to be year 2 content, and Call of Duty.
Yeah, we're getting finessed, dude. Bootleg Call of Duty incoming.
So the thing is, this expansion was already going to include a campaign. They already had map packs ready to go, and what they're gonna do with this, it seems like, is they're gonna make it into its own thing because they already have a campaign expansion. So they're just gonna make that the campaign. They already have map packs coming, new map packs, and recycled, remastered stuff as they've been doing to death right now. And they're gonna probably include those as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to make some type of transition between Modern Warfare 2 and this next one. I have it rumored as, potentially Modern Warfare 3, or if they decide to call it something else, and Infinity Ward releases Modern Warfare 3 in 3 years. Maybe that's what happens, but that's all I wanted to say on
dude, that sounds like a recipe of just like throw everything that you got in the refrigerator and call it a game.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Did you look at Black Ops 4?
Like a bunch of
Black Ops 4
literally didn't have a campaign. But Black Ops 4 didn't have a campaign.
No, there was no campaign.
That's a perfect example.
But it's still Treyarch, though. Sledgehammer and Vanguard, the whole game was garbage.
No. I personally, for me personally, I like Vanguard's campaign. The multiplayer. The thing about it is the multiplayer was decent. Honestly, Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer is it's the least multiplayer I've played in Call of Duty in a while. Black Ops Cold War was really good.
Well, that's what I was going to say to you, Jez. I think it was more the gun selection than it was.
Oh my god!
I played a lot of Vanguard multiplayer. I didn't mind it, but I do want your complaint is valid. I can tell you that much with the guns.
Yeah, that time period, dude.
So
where can they go with it?
I got news for you.
It just sounds like they're good.
It's gonna be Modern Warfare now for the
yes.
Okay, so they're just gonna add on to what we are seeing already.
But now they're gonna call it a new game.
Don't forget, guys.
Okay,
you guys think that was
bad? Taking the leftovers and making a meal for the family.
You think that was bad though? It was the Caldera that was really bad. Playing Warzone Caldera, playing that with the World War II guns as the
I played like 3 matches.
That was
Caldera.
Horrendously bad.
Yes, that
horrendously bad. Let me do this, guys. I want to switch shifts real quick. I got to talk about this because it's really interesting. So Nintendo had their Direct, and I've got the great Chris Righteous here. Chris, I apologize that you're keeping, because I know what Chris is into, and I can tell you what he's not into. He's not into Activision talk at all. That's what Chris Righteous is not into. Chris, can I get your opinion here? First of all, what did you think of the Nintendo Direct? And then I got to talk about it because it's already after 9 o'clock, but I got to talk about it. I know you wanted to discuss it as well, I believe. Chris, what was your take on not only the Direct, but the whole situation now with, Zelda, Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom going to be $70? What was, because you had a great talking point, and I wanted to make sure the audience heard it.
Well, the Direct itself, if I'm going to be critical about the Direct itself, was my biasness, was like Tears of the Kingdom aside and shit like that, right? I thought the Direct was just okay. I thought it was a cool, maybe like 7, maybe 6.5, 7 out of 10. Direct, they had some decent announcements. It was mainly like updates, like Splatoon 3 DLC, Xenoblade Chronicles is getting a new DLC and stuff like that.
Pikmin 4 was very big.
Yeah, some of the games that caught my eyes. Obviously, there was a surprise shadow announcement, a shadow drop announcement, which was the Metroid Prime remaster, which everybody is actually saying that it's actually a remake, but they just call it a remaster or whatever. But so that was cool. A new level 5 JRPG game that I'm super excited for because I was worried about. Because they're financially doing horrible for the past, 5 or so years. I thought they were going to shut down because they were shutting down, their offices in America and stuff like that. I thought they was going to shut down without another game. And I grew up with them with, Dark Cloud and Rogue Galaxy and stuff like that. So I'm glad they're doing another, open world RPG turn-based that looks extremely good. I'm definitely going to support it day one. It's coming to all It's coming to all platforms except Xbox. I'm sorry.
God damn it.
And then, the Game Boy, and the Game Boy Advance announcements were cool. And the only reason why those were cool is because they're actually putting in games that people want, and like the Zelda games and the Golden Suns and stuff like that. And that's kind of something I want PlayStation to do with their premium tier, but they've been severely lacking on that front.
Oh yeah, that's been bad.
Yeah. So, and then after that,
it's been horrible,
and bad. Yes, it's been trash.
Yeah,
you know what I would love to see.
I've been the ones that was very excited for that, and I've been one of the ones that have been extremely vocal about the lack of content. But anyway, there's neither here nor there. Yeah. So then they showed a new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom.
Yep.
Which is to me is another teaser trailer. Like Nintendo is holding off a lot in this game, right? It's their longest game in development, technically. In terms of production, it's the longest 3D Zelda game in development that's building upon, the original assets, engine, and stuff like that. So think about it, man. Like God of War Ragnarok came out a year after and almost a year before, and it was twice as big. So this game is going to be a super huge. Is a 3-layered vertical open world, which we don't really see at all in AAA gaming. Meaning, there's going to be meaningful sky exploration, things in the sky itself, and seamless traversal. We saw different ways to do that with the different vehicles, which you're going to be actually building yourself. And some people are speculating that the online features that was leaked is going to be because you can actually use blueprints and trade them online or give it to your friends online so they can build their own little unique aircraft and things like that. And, expanded upon more. We want to see, like I said, open air exploration, because most games that just have aerial traversal is just you get on a bird or you get on a plane and just from point A to point B. It's also going to have meaningful exploration on there. There's definitely more stuff on the original land because it's also using the original landmass of Hyrule and stuff like that. There's new things there, and they also showed a huge underground portion of it. It's going to have land, air, and underground, like full vertical open world exploration and stuff like that, which I'm very excited for, and I'm very excited to see how many years this game is played, because the original game is still being played to this day.
Yep.
And there's still tons of things that people are finding in terms of exploit, glitches, discoveries, attention to details, and stuff like that. They just GameStop continue to make. They made like 15 videos last year of like 20, 30 things each video's showing off new things. So but anyway, yeah, to address the elephant in the room, which is the whole, the game went up $70 and things like that, and everybody's up in the upworld. Listen to me, is it justified for like a game running on on all outdated hardware to now go up in price when all the rest of the other AAA games in that hardware or on that hardware was already at a fixed price of $60? No, probably not. I wouldn't say it's justified, but at the same time, it's like if Nintendo's going to do it with a game because they're seeing these other games being charged for $70 and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And they know their worth and value. They know that, with Tears of the Kingdom, they know they're going to put their all. They know they're going to, put as much quality as they can and maximize the hardware for what it is as they can. They feel like they can do it. And I honestly think that it's not going to affect any type of sales at all. It's going to, go crazy and stuff like that. And I get the argument was like, well, the justifications for, the $70 game is because they're on new hardware. They have new features, next generation, improvements.
Yep. Like
the frame rates and the resolution and DualSense features and SSDs, 3D audio, like the whole thingamajig. And that's true. But the thing about that, most people that use that argument are disingenuous with themselves, because not every $60 game or $70 game is made the same way and utilizes all the features to the standard that what it should be. There still hasn't been a game that utilizes the DualSense features as good as Astrobot, and that was a full game. Even with like a game like Horizon.
Wait, are we not talking about Returnal here?
No, I don't think that's the correlation he's making. He's saying what Chris is saying is.
Hold on, but even like, when Forbidden West and God of War was Ragnarok, everybody was upset. Why? Because it's cross-gen, because it's not fully built for the ground up for the PS5. So a lot of these games that are $70 aren't fully built, and I bought every single one except Last of Us. I bought Returnal, right? And I took a risk because that was a new game. I bought Demon Souls. I bought all these other games. So I was always consistent. I was always one of the ones always saying like, yo, you don't like it, don't buy it. You this, that, and the third, you don't like it, don't buy it, or whatever. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna all of a sudden start carrying that Tears of the Kingdom from a series, from one of my favorite series of all time. When you know what I mean, because it doesn't have this, that, or the third, but that game is going to be better than most games that come out this year. That game, to me, that game is most likely going to be game of the year again, like the first one, 97 rated, 30 million copies sold and stuff like that. So to me, of course I'm gonna buy it. I'm getting the deluxe edition, right, or the collector's edition. For people who are not into the game, who thought Breath of the Wild is overrated, which is completely fine, or who are not into Zelda, or who don't care about Switches or whatever, it's so easy for them to come out and complain about this because they were never interested in the game
in the first place, right?
And like what I was saying before, a lot of comes from disingenuous argument because there was games that they bought for $60 that didn't have all the tech and features that The Last of Us 2 have. I know people that bought Ys 9 at full price at launch that didn't have the accessibility options and stuff like that, but they weren't complaining about that. The only compelling, actual, fair, legit argument against this is the fact that what I said in the beginning, that it is still within the current gen of a Switch. They haven't refreshed their hardware, so all of their other AAA games like Super Smash Brothers or whatever was 60.
60, yeah.
You know, and now all of a sudden they're changing that standard set price for they already set for all their AAA games. Now they're increasing it, right? And some people came out because they're using a bigger cartridges, which is more expensive, whatever. That's capped because The Witcher 3 used the 32 gigabyte cartridge, and that was still, you know, that wasn't $70 or anything like that. So that's really like the only compelling argument against it. But at the end of the day, I can't wait for the game to come out. I still think it's going to be game of the year from what they're expanding upon. And when it comes out and when people are complaining and shit like that, it's just, there's a reason why they call it Tears of the Kingdom, because there's going to be a lot of tears.
A lot of tears.
Enough to build an entire game.
No, Chris, you broke that down very, very good. Who wanted to get in right there? Was that Kofi?
Yeah,
no,
or Everborn?
Yeah, go ahead, Ever.
All right, thanks. I think you are right on the money, Chris. But I will say that, you know, BRAP's not here, but I just want to say the word macroeconomics.
Yes.
And conjecture. But you know, business wise, if you see if your board members, your shareholders, whatever, see that everyone's having success with these $70 games, and not everybody's having success, but you know, this is where the price point is going. Your shareholders are going to start to ask you why you aren't charging that, right? And
bingo.
It's almost like it's this sort of self-fulfilling prophecy or whatever it is, where that's where everyone's going. That's why we have to go it, because their job at the end of the day for their shareholders is to make them the most money possible. So I just think unfortunately, and I think you have been on this page, and I have my t-shirt that I sell on everbornsaga.com, charge them more. I think the argument was never about the fact that a game was $70. It was the people that were like talking like they were happy to throw that money away at a company, or at least that was always my complaint, right? And like you, I bought Returnal and Demon Souls and Ratchet and God of War.
Yep.
I got Forbidden West on sale, but the point stands. I bought a lot of $70 games.
That's right.
I'm gonna buy Tears of the Kingdom.
Me too.
I think Zelda is the greatest gaming franchise of all time, bar none, right? But the whole argument around this is, if we just come and we say everything is okay that these corporations do, they'll just keep pushing more and more. So, and you can argue that arguing online doesn't do anything, but that was always my pet peeve about this whole thing.
People... Yeah, but the ones that don't do a good job usually they the ones that get ridiculed and stuff like that. Like PlayStation games at $70. A lot of people will accept. I mean, obviously there's people that didn't accept it or whatever, right? And you heard it online. But I think this Twitter bubble is very small, and I think things get amplified and people think it's a bigger deal than what it is. But a lot of people are not going to really ridicule, you know, God of War or whatever, because they know it's going to have the content. They know it's rich. They know it's going to, you know, it's going to be high quality.
Yeah, but we know Zelda. We know Zelda's going to have the content. I mean,
right? No, that's what I'm saying. In terms and that's one of the things that I was kind of complaining about my space yesterday. Is like, it's very. I hate this community for the fact that the game will be announced, but the main talking point is only the price point. Nobody's actually talking about the game itself. Or
people don't play games on Twitter. Chris, what's wrong with you?
I feel you on that, Chris.
No, but like there's or they put more emphasis on resolution and stuff like that. You know, like oh the game is 540p and shit like that. First of all, it's not gonna be, because the first game wasn't that fucking low. And the first game still holds up. I put 50 hours last month again in Breath of the Wild, and I've been getting a lot of people to jump back into it because there's a lot of things that I've been showing people that people didn't even know you can do, and they're like, "Damn, I want to go back and play this."
I think the first game was 720p to 900p. The first Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, Doc. But like, the way they did this art style, whatever techniques they did, that shit.
Oh no, it was beautiful. I love Breath of the Wild.
That shit holds up.
Yeah,
so there's like, when I see people only commenting on like resolution or whatever, to me it's like, then what are you in gaming for? Because you're not saying anything about the design, the innovations,
so when it comes to that conversation,
all these other things and whatnot. So and it's like, bro, it's like because there's games that, for example, like Crysis. I think everybody would say that The Last of Us is a better game than Crysis 3, right? In 2013, but Crysis 3 was way more advanced in its tech, had a higher all these other things and whatnot. But that didn't mean that the game was factually better than Last of Us, because it objectively had better production value and stuff like that. So. And that's what I'm saying is like
but it comes to a point where we've got to stop accepting Nintendo's willingness to just stick out with its old hardware. I'm literally heartbroken right now because I was waiting to get Tears of the Kingdom day one, but finding out that there won't be a new Switch to launch right beside it, so I can play this game at 60 FPS, minimum 1080p. I'm not getting it day one.
For you, sir.
A PC.
Yeah, well, then if that's the reason why, then I honestly don't believe that you would truly or truly going to be into it, because if that's the only thing, which to me, in my
Breath of the Wild was one of my favorite games released in 2017. I don't know where this. I never sat here against anybody to tell them if this one reason you're not into the game.
My PS5 and stuff like that. I go back to Breath of the Wild. Obviously, it's nowhere near that level, right? In terms of fidelity or whatever. But
so you're going really deep into the discussion. It's not a matter of how deep the world is. I spent a ridiculous amount of time in Breath of the Wild when I played it. I never even liked any of the Zelda games prior to it, and I've tried a bunch of them throughout and way until back to the 64. The thing about Breath of the Wild, it was a completely different game. I loved it, but I can't accept Nintendo releasing these games on older hardware like this anymore because the performance just isn't there. I want to enjoy this game because I know it's going to be amazing. I want to. It's like me. I'd rather play God of War on PS5 over PS4 because it's the best performance running game. It's gonna look better. It's gonna perform better. And I don't want to. I don't want to play Zelda running at a choppy frame rate on a Switch. Running at maybe again probably at 720p. It's not a matter of I just because I want games to perform well. I don't like games for being games. I love games, but at that point you're looking back at 2017 when it was an era of PlayStation 4 and Xbox games running majorly at 30 FPS. A lot of us were used to it. It was okay. Right now when I try to play a 30 FPS game, depending on the game, I can take it. But 60 FPS or 40 FPS at least has to become the standard going forward. And 720p to 900p.
Hold on, let me ask you something. How long you been gaming for?
Since the Sega Genesis.
Sega, right? So you had a PS2, right?
Huh?
My man says
PS2, right?
I had a PS2.
Okay, majority of the AAA PS2 games, right? Like Devil May Cry, whatever, Resident Evil, whatever, were all 60 FPS. It's when we went into this HD era, which games started being more demanding, that I went back down to 30. So 60 FPS is nothing new. We were gaming on 60 FPS on 32, and we took
but then you just as you said, it became a standard.
Back, right? No, it actually set back the performance. The resolution went high, but the performance set back, right? So everybody was playing on the PlayStation 4s and whatever, and we're loving all these 30 FPS games. People understand what the Switch is. It's a handheld a hybrid device that you could set.
Not everybody plays the Switch on handheld. People play like myself, play it on the TV.
I play it 95% docked, right? But the compromise of it being a unique device, because when it first came out, what other device was more powerful than the Switch that offered the same type of features and the same type of portability for $300? There wasn't, right? There wasn't. So it wasn't a whole thing of like outdated hardware because there was no other hardware to compare it to, but at the same exact
I'm
price.
really not sure where the conversation is going because you're jumping back into the PlayStation 2 era, talking about 60 FPS games and 3 era with HD games. And
is going is like, if you understand what the hardware is, like to me,
I understand what the hardware is.
I'm able to separate that. I'm not going to expect a portable device.
Again, going back to the conversation, you think I'm sitting here expecting God of War on Switch? I'm not. I'm simply. I literally put up 60 FPS
on a 6-year-old device. You're not going to get that on.
Exactly. That's why I wanted a new Switch. That's why I was hoping a new Switch would land on it.
So either you have you have several options. Just skip out on the game and wait for the new Switch and play it on.
That's literally what I said. I don't know what's going on here right now.
Or you can play it on Yuzu, right? Or you can play it on Yuzu and stuff like that if you have a PC and things like that.
Or a Steam Deck.
That's a
Steam Deck, yeah.
Like that actually.
Yeah, but a Steam Deck over here in Canada is like $800, $900 with our Monopoly money over here.
Well, wait a minute. So when you say Steam Deck, though, that would mean that you'd be pirating it?
No, you can buy it.
I don't even mention the Steam Deck.
No. So here's the thing. Let me if
go ahead, Everborn.
Chris. So emulation by law is 100% legal.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
So you can buy the game, and if you have an OG Switch like I do, I have a day one Switch. I waited online for it.
Me too.
Overnight at Best Buy in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way to export a game that.
You're talking about dumping games. Yeah,
exactly. So you dump it, and then you can go and play it on an emulation PC, or in my case, a Switch. So that's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to buy the game for $70, but I'm never going to play it on the Switch, and I'm going to play it with the hardware that I have on.
So wait a minute. I had a day one Switch. I went and got it the day it came out, but I recently when it came out, yeah, right, and I loved it. But I'm saying then I went and I traded that one in to get the OLED. So I can't do it.
The OLED is not going to let you do the dumping like the OG one does.
Oh, well, not okay.
But you're in New York, so maybe let's link up.
We could do that.
You know what I'm saying? Put this my OG Switch to work.
No, Mooch, how long are we going for?
I know. I can't. Well, so TC, I wanted one more question. I was actually going to go to you on this one, and then you guys can make this one short because we are after 9 o'clock. And I really appreciate Everborn and TC staying because they originally couldn't stay the full 2 hours, and now they're staying over 2 hours. So I really want to say thank you to them on the air. I want to just say this much. So Hogwarts Legacy, right, breaks the Twitch record for viewers. Now it looks like it's breaking some sales records, or it will be. Anybody playing this game on the panel right now or plan to?
Yes, I have it installed on my PS5. Tomorrow I have a birthday to go to, but right after that birthday, I'm coming back here. It's full Hogwarts Legacy for me. So I've been waiting for this game since the leaks in 2018. It's been killing me.
Everybody was so excited for this game, and I gotta be honest with you, looking at the sales and looking at the Twitch viewership, it seems like everyone still is very excited for this game. Everborn, Jez, Chris. Because TC, you haven't played anybody playing it?
I have never, and maybe I'm just like 5 years too old. I've never been into Harry Potter. I've only seen the last 2 movies. And this game, personally to me, I know everybody loves it, and I'm happy for everybody.
Right.
It never looked interesting to me. I almost bought it just because as a protest to the stupid boycott they did.
Yeah.
Or they tried to do. But it seems like everybody else bought it, so good, because
you're like,
that was moral
Everborn's like, I'm good.
Terrible.
No, Everborn.
That conversation in itself is a whole ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't want to.
No, I wasn't. No, and that's not. Yeah, no, I wasn't going there. I want to know the true interest of the game. You know, I like to talk about the game.
It. Yeah,
I'm playing it as well.
A lot.
It's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm not. Listen, I'm with Everborn in the sense of my age. Like, I'm well past those years of the Harry Potter stuff.
Lord of the Rings better.
I never read the books. I have seen some of the movies. But it is an interesting thing. If you've seen the movies, you really have enjoyed the game. Really captures the essence of
I rewatch
the
movies every year. I love Harry Potter. I'm a big fan.
That's awesome. No, I'm glad to hear that. The game, it's doing so well. And when Sony showed it off at their, I think it was a year and a half ago now, or was it 2 years ago at their showcase? That was some presentation, and I thought that was actually the way Sony was advertising it. It seemed like I thought they were gonna have exclusivity on it. Of course, they don't. But
it's just marketing rights.
They have marketing rights. But I mean, in all honesty, I think the game is. It's funny because Everborn makes a good point. He says, I
think they do have some type of content. I think they do.
They do.
They have a dark dungeon and some exclusive
there's a quest.
Mounts and stuff
like
that.
The thing is, I forgot about it is because I don't really care that much. That's the thing is I just want to play the game.
Dude, the game is, and I'm no diehard. I just watched the movies, and that was about it. And I went to Universal Studios, Harry Potter, and my son picked out a one.
I never read the books. I never read
the books. But I gotta say, the game, the atmosphere of the game, I can't believe how big the map is. First off, that was so surprising because I really didn't follow a lot about it. And the fact that Hogwarts is so detailed, and there's so much stuff going on
But you can't play Quidditch.
Itself.
No, you cannot.
No, you can't. You can't play Quidditch, which I thought was kind of whack. I thought that was
wild. That was wild when I heard that. I thought there would be a whole arc section with Quidditch as a focus.
Yeah, but they could sell that to you in a DLC.
There you go.
DLC. Let's go. Well, they're gonna, dude. I'm gonna tell you, this game has first off, it's coming. And I said this on Saltiest thing, so some people might hear what I said. Coming from Forspoken, this game is definitely different. Forspoken is much more of a Horizon, a kind of an action game with some RPG elements. This is an RPG. Yeah. Harry Potter is your Witcher pace and your Fallouts and your
Dragon Age, Mass Effect.
Yes, Mass Effect, Dragon Age. So this is not the same thing. This is not a combat. This is an RPG, a true RPG. And so there's a lot of talking and a lot of environment building. But I gotta tell you, running around Hogwarts, there's so much stuff going on. I tell you, with the surround sound, there's the ghosts coming around,
the music,
chatting,
the music,
even the little dungeons. Like you just cast the mat.
What are you playing it on?
PlayStation,
PS5.
Which
how's the DualSense? How's it
incredible?
DualSense.
I'm gonna start talking about
Mooch, I'm gonna get off the conversation.
Incredible.
He's like, I'll see you. Good night. He's like, TC's like, good night, everybody.
You wield your wand and you flex that magic, you feel it vibrate up the sides of the controller from the bottom all the way up your hand, and you feel like you're wielding the magic. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Even when you walk over those friggin' little tulips that sing, your controller vibrates slightly because they're singing.
I'm excited to see how that feels on my Razer headset.
And the other thing I'm going to say too is with the DualSense. So when you tap the R2, you shoot out your magic. When you hold it down, you're able to shift and use your other magic. I was wondering if anybody played it on Xbox. How does that work?
Because wait, say it again, Jez. Jez, what is that? What did you just say?
So similar to Returnal, like when you tap the R2 button, it gives you some resistance, so you don't press all the way down.
Yes.
The little break.
So there is that in this game where your main attack is tapping, and you feel that little bit of resistance, so you don't press all the way down because of the adaptive triggers.
That is true.
How does that work on Xbox? I was asking if anybody played it because you would need to tap it not all the way down because then it shifts you into your face buttons to magic.
Yeah,
so I don't know if it's different on Xbox.
The great Worry Ward who was not able to make the show tonight. He says this all the time, and maybe it's because he's said it to me so many times over the past 2 years now. He's like, Mooch, I got to be honest with you. When I find out there's DualSense, not compatibility, but DualSense, the development, third-party implementation. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's getting late here. And I'm starving. But nonetheless, when that's implemented into the controller and it's used in third-party games, of course not first-party, but in third-party games, he goes, I gravitate, and I don't mean to put words in his mouth, but he goes, I gravitate towards the PS5. And I got to be honest, I'm right there too. Yeah. Whether it be Callisto Protocol or it be this. I want it, first of all, on PS5, I've always said
Callisto Protocol does it was.
Exactly. It was stuff, man.
It was great.
And the sound with that.
But Jez, when it comes down to it again, I was going to get the deluxe edition regardless, right? And I said this a long time ago. I said this on MNC. I said, my point is this. Whenever I'm going to pay the same dollar amount, this goes for Xbox too. If Xbox had the extra Quest and the extra this and the extra that, I'm going to give the company that actually goes out and gets the marketing rights for that because I don't care about the marketing rights, but whoever gets the package deal, because not only do you get the DualSense included, but you get the extra quest, you get the extra gear, which, by the way, in some games, the gear doesn't matter. But in this game, every single time you do a quest or you search, you get new gear. And it looks better and better, and you look more like a sick-ass
and you could change the like Destiny. You could change.
Yo, y'all are killing me right now. My
you could change the actual look of it too, so you can have a blue one. Yeah.
So Chris Righteous.
Is that my phone with the feedback? Is that my mic?
I don't
with feedback.
I don't hear feedback.
Yeah, I think.
All right, then it's me.
It might be yours, Jez. Chris Righteous, are you playing this game?
Yeah, I've been playing it, and so far it's cool. So far, it's definitely, I love RPGs. That's like my favorite genre. And it's been a while since I played like a Western RPG like this. Like you said, Horizon is more like the action adventure, RPG elements and stuff like that. And this one does fall more in the lines of the Western RPGs of like the BioWares. And Witcher and things like that. And so far, I love games that's all about choices, and you get different outcomes for different choices, and different playthroughs and different types of builds and whatever. And this game has plenty of that so far. I will say it does start off just a little bit slow before it starts to pick up and whatnot. But I'm kind of used to that with RPGs in general. One thing I don't know
how slow is it? Did it take hours before it picks up?
A few hours.
Is how
I survived Days Gone taking 10 hours to pick up. So
it's true. That's true. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, the mission structure, and how restrictive it could be sometimes, because sometimes it's like, okay, when I'm with like a companion, and I'm following them and stuff like that, and then I'm looking at someone that's like, oh, let me explore over there real quick to see if there's a treasure, or something like that. All of a sudden, I walk 10 feet and it's like a countdown.
Yeah.
Like,
Chris, I thought that's why I thought the map was going to be so small.
Like one thing I don't like about some of these open world games is like it's supposed to be open world, but it still feels like the mission still feels like just like a linear structured mission or whatever.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. When you walk into the city,
there's a countdown for what? What's the countdown?
When in certain missions, you can't abandon the person.
Mission.
Oh, out of bounds.
Yeah, and that's in the beginning. And
here's the thing: it's like,
yeah,
that'll be cool if the out of bounds was like really expanded. But sometimes it feels like you
off the path.
And you're getting the countdown. You know what I mean? And
I
was
Chris.
like, damn, I just want to see what's over here real quick.
Yeah, Chris, I thought like, see, I didn't follow the game. I thought like I wouldn't be able to run on the grass. I'm like, holy crap, what kind of game is this? I can't run on the grass? Because as soon as you run on the grass, it's like, get back to your mission. I'm like, and then when I saw how big the map was and you could go anywhere and you can even swim and crazy, I was like, oh, okay, so it is an open world. But in the beginning, it's so restrictive that I was like, yeah.
Yeah, so but overall, overall it's cool. I think they did an amazing job in that the feel and the atmosphere of the school and making the school feel alive, and all the little secrets and all the little animation. The animation work in this game, I think, is fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pictures and the books and the different, the different.
And in the combat, him with wielding the wand, like that's pretty smooth.
The combat's better than people say it is. I think it's good.
It takes a minute to get used to, but I think that the combat, it's serviceable. It's not.
It's a little clunky.
It's when you actually
don't say that.
Play the game, it actually feels better than what it actually looks. You know what I mean? For me personally, and stuff like that. But I haven't unlocked some of the other spells and combinations and things like that. So I think it's cool so far. I'm enjoying it.
I'm enjoying it.
I totally agree with Chris. I was saying I agree. Like the magic stuff, like it definitely is a much slower pace type magic and more strategic in how you're going to use it, because there is cooldowns and stuff, and you can only use 4 of them at the same time. So you could go right on the D-pad and then like hot swap kind of a magic into one of the slots, but in combat you only could do one at a time. And it almost has, and again, I'm not a diehard Souls and stuff like that, like Chris plays and stuff like that, but it does have a little element of the dodge kind of Souls type mechanic of like working an enemy down and dodging, and you have the triangle to kind of parry and stuff like that. So there is, and I find that it is definitely a challenging type combat. Like even fighting like 5 or 6 spiders, you're just like, whoa, like
similar to like Kenna, but it's way better in terms of like the timing and stuff
It does kind of feel like the fighting mechanics of Kenna.
Randomly overpowered like Kena?
No, I didn't fight any bosses yet. But but you're right. That's what it reminds me of.
I haven't fought many bosses yet. I'm still kind of early in the game.
Yeah, I'm early too, TC. TC, there's no spoilers here, TC. I'm literally like, I don't know. I think I'm level 10. My wizard's level 10.
Yeah, I'm like 6 hours in. Like, I'm around there.
I'm level 13. So
yeah, it don't take that long to get there either, TC. So nothing we're saying is by any means. But the only thing I took away from it is the music's amazing. I think the combat is good. It's not great, but it's good. I like the DualSense features. They definitely locked in and captured the essence of the movies, and I guess the book if you read the books. I didn't. It definitely has the movie effect there, and it's a different pace. And like I said, I'm playing through Forspoken as well.
It's hard going back.
Yeah, it is hard to go back to. But the thing with Forspoken, I'm gonna do. Is I don't know if you guys saw this, but what do they call it? Now? Of course, I don't know what I'm having. I gotta eat before I podcast. What do they call it? Not Lucent Games.
Lucid
Games?
Not a Lucid. The guys that made Final Fantasy 15.
Luminous.
Luminous made
production.
Right, and they made Forspoken, and they said that they have another patch coming out. So I'm just playing Forspoken a little slower. Because I'm playing it so I don't lose the mechanics, right? You don't want to lose the fighting mechanic that you kind of built, like the hand memory coordination there. But at the same time, I want to wait for that next patch to come through because they're saying it's supposed to make it look even better and even more fluid. And I think it's decent now. I'm excited to see where they're going to go with that. So I'm on the second, but I collect everything. Anybody watch me on Twitch? I'm on the second Tanta.
Wait till the twists and turns, man. We got to talk about it.
I can't wait, buddy. Honestly,
Jez,
you beat it? You beat all the...
Yes, I beat it yesterday, 2 days ago. And what's crazy is that there's a whole, like, after the game, like, you could definitely go back and do stuff because you really don't even do half the map. And like the whole map by the end of the game.
You don't do the whole map, but I haven't done all of the, I think they're called the mutants and things like that, but I've done all the labyrinths, all the layers. I've done all the dungeons. I've done, every time the new piece of map opens up, I get everything. I do it. I go to every monument. I go to everything. And believe it or not, this is how crazy I am. You guys, maybe I should Twitch stream it. You guys will see how crazy I am. I actually even highlight all the purple dots leading to where I'm going, so I get every chest as I'm going there. Like I'm clearing out the map. So I've literally got like 20, I think I have 25 or 26 hours, and I'm still not even at the second Tanta boss because I'm clearing everything out. I'm enjoying the game. Like I like the motion. It's so fun. It's the traversing, the verticality. It's all there. And it's fast action. It's fast. It's good. Like I said, I'm not talking anybody into it. Wait for a sale. But so now what I'm doing is now there's the Hogwarts. So now I'm playing the Hogwarts, and I'm just going in and I'm just kind of dabbling in the Forspoken so I don't lose the mechanics. If anyone's played Forspoken, you know what I mean. You can't just go from Forspoken and then leave it.
I'm experiencing the same thing that you are right now, but not with Forspoken. Instead with Persona 4 Golden. That's a big game that I'm only closing in on halfway through, but then I have another big game that I'm playing at the same time, so you kind of got to juggle both.
How you liking Persona 4 Golden?
Yeah, how's that?
Persona 4 Golden, yeah.
How you liking it? How you like it? So, like, the one criticism I have...
Hey, sorry, Mooch.
Yes, TC.
I know you wanted to end, you were saying you're going to end soon, but I'm gonna have to go.
I was waiting for...
I kind of got to...
Yeah, Everborn as well. I know. I was just gonna say I could see these guys were like, guys, I gotta go. They were like, the show has to come to an end. That was the end of the. Yeah, Everborn. I appreciate you being here. Let me give these guys.
Well, let Kofi make his point though. But
okay,
I gotta run. I know Kofi was saying something.
No, go ahead, Kofi.
This was fantastic, Mooch. Thank you so much for having me in here. I think this conversation was dope. Shout out to TC. Shout out to Jez. Definitely shout out to Chris and Kofi.
Kofi.
Jez will never forget that.
Kofi.
To Kofi, but shout out to everybody here. Shout out to the chat. This was fantastic. I hope you will have me back.
Absolutely.
And just for the record, I think the ABK deal will close and Microsoft will give the regulators whatever they want. That's it. I gotta go. And everybody go to everbornsaga.com. We make comics. We make comics. It's like Western fantasy, but the art style is all sort of manga anime. Anybody who's seen it can vouch for it. Everbornsaga.com. We got a sale going on right now. Check it out. But thanks everybody. Thanks chat. And this was dope.
Yo, Everborn, thank you so much, buddy. I appreciate you being here. You will definitely get a Mooch. The Mooch signal will go off again, and you will get that invite very, very soon. Thank you for being here. And everybody go check out the Gaming Circle podcast with Everborn and the great Kay Asante on Saturday mornings. Guys, outstanding. Everborn, thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
All right. You too, man. Later, guys.
All right. Peace, Everborn.
Later.
TC, if you want to give your outro real quick, and then we'll let Kofi finish his.
I don't really have a plug or a store to go into. TCMF Games on YouTube, TCMF2 on Twitter, Instagram, TCMF Games, Facebook, TCMF Games. It's all TCMF Games.
That's as good as a plug as ever, tonight. TC. That was great.
It's been a great conversation tonight. Good topics besides the Activision one. I hope we don't have to talk about that for a while if I come on here next time. But I know in my luck, the next time I come here, whenever it is, ABK is going to happen. Something's going to happen with ABK. I don't know what it is.
Of course.
But yeah, it's been a great conversation. Good talking to everybody here. And that's really it. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, TC. I appreciate you being here, buddy. I'll reach out soon. Kofi, please go ahead and finish your thoughts. I am very interested in hearing him.
So really quick, I do want to back up and just reflect on the debate around ABK because, like Chris, I really didn't care. So I learned a lot from what you guys are debating about, talking about percentages and chances that the acquisition will end up with something getting broken up. I do think the deal will go through, but it is hard for that subject to hold my interest because I'm a hater. I'll say this, Overwatch was probably the last IP out of that juncture that even interested me at all.
Wow.
So, and really quick, I want to touch on the Nintendo scene. I am a lover of Nintendo, but a somewhat reluctant Switch owner because whenever I am playing a Switch, I usually play in handheld mode. I just don't like it. And I keep getting excited for IPs that are announced at Directs. So I constantly remind myself that, hey, it's just me. I haven't spent the money to change out the Joy-Cons that come with the Switch to make my experience more comfortable. That's probably the biggest issue I have.
Yep.
Games that were announced at this last Direct, Baten Kaitos, which is a classic GameCube JRPG that was originally published by Namco Bandai, getting a HD remaster. Something that was only on the Japanese version of the Nintendo Direct was the remake of Atelier Mary. For fans who might have heard of the Atelier series, you might have heard of Ryza or Aisha or Sophie. The first game in the series, which came out on PlayStation 1 and Sega Saturn, was remade on PS2, but kind of was lost in obscurity. This remake kind of has like a more, I would say, cutesy overtone, but overall the presentation, the new character designs completely being voice acted, all the towns being rebuilt. It's nice to see that they're going all the way back to the first game in the series and getting it the respect it deserves. So that's really cool. I think that will come out in the US sometime, maybe early next year. I'm surprised it's not coming out within months of the Japanese release because all of the Atelier games come out in like worldwide, basically. At least in the last 5 years. So going through all that, that's really interesting. And then I want to touch on what you guys were just talking about, jumping between two different games with different mechanics. And back to my question to Chris about Persona 4 Golden, because I love Persona 5 much more than 4. And I guess this is more to you, Chris. The reason why I think 4 stood out to me as somewhat not as good as 5 is dungeon exploration and it really not being different between each dungeon. Well, 5, it's a whole theme. It's a whole different sort of mechanic that you're usually following. And 4, I love the characters. The story was great. The difficulty I loved. But the exploration is just not... It's hard. I don't know. How were you experiencing?
What do you mean by hard? Like non-existent or difficult? Like legitimately difficult?
Nah, like it's too similar. It's... Like, for example, like the first dungeon or the second dungeon in Persona 5 or Persona 5 Royal, there's a drastic abstractness to how you explore. Like in the second dungeon of Persona, you're jumping in and out of paintings and exploring like an art gallery. And so then the main villain is an artist. Right. And so like having that dungeon type of exploration is not mimicked in any other dungeon. But in Persona 4 Golden, it is a PS2 game from 2008. No, yeah, 2008. So I'm not trying to give it a hard time, but going back sometimes and having the dungeons just be hallways and doors, it's hard for me to give it high praise. So I'm curious if Chris's kind of experience.
What do you think, Chris?
So overall, I am enjoying the game in terms of, you know, the story, the gameplay mechanics in terms of how you earn the persona, like the whole card system, like you pick the cards at the end, or if you're able to hit the weaknesses or stuff like that. You know, because it kind of mixes up and whatnot. But yeah, I fully agree with what you're saying, because that's my main thing. Because for the long, because this is my first playthrough of Persona 4 Golden, but for the longest, you know, after I played Persona 5 Royal, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing, 10 out of 10." You know, I've heard a lot of people say that Persona 4 Golden is the best one. It's the best one. It's better and stuff like that, right? But I've heard that sentiment, so I was like, "Oh, cool." So I'm excited. And to me, as far I really enjoy the characters. Like I enjoy Chie and Yukigo and stuff like that, right? But and I do think the themes can be at times a little darker than Persona 5 in certain aspects. And you know, the themes are like the Midnight Channel and going into the TV world, and I think that shit's cool. But yeah, 100% with you on the dungeons. It's like completely lifeless, basic. The only thing that changes is the theme, so it'll be like a strip club or it'll be like a sauna, but the actual structure and layout is literally randomly generated hallways, because every time you enter and re-enter a floor, it'll change just like the positioning of the hallways and the doors and stuff like that to try to mix it up. But compared to like Persona 5, where each dungeon felt uniquely crafted and interesting and introduced unique mechanics to make your way through the dungeons. You know, like in the art gallery, you're sneaking in like you're thieves, and you gotta avoid the little traps and stuff like that. Or I mean, I'm talking about the museum, or in the art gallery, like Kofi said, you're jumping through paintings. In the casino, you're playing casino games to progress and shit like that. So it always freshened it up, the different mechanics and stuff like that, and unique level design. Persona 4 Golden doesn't have any of that, but the story is really great. The characters are really good, and the you know the gameplay loop of, you know, getting the personas and stuff like that still holds up to this day. So I'm enjoying it. But as far as like better than 5, I'm not seeing that, but I think it's really good so far.
So let me ask you both a question here. If somebody came in and said, like myself, and I'm like, I haven't played 4 or 5, should I play 4 or 5 first?
5 Royal.
Wait, Chris, was that you, Chris? Chris jumped in right away.
I think 5 Royal, because I think if you experience it at its best, you could probably get more into it, and then therefore it'll be easier for you to get into the older ones, because you understand, okay, there's an older one, so it's not gonna have this, that, and the third. You know, but yeah, because sometimes if you get into the older one, you'd be like, yeah, it's just too outdated for me. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
I think and they're separate, right? So it's like completely different story, characters, you know, setting. It's not even like Persona 4 is not even in Tokyo like 5 is in like some rural area, part of Japan. It's like some country town in Japan. Where Persona 5 is like in Tokyo, Shibuya, and things like that.
Yeah, it's something that I asked you guys, because first of all, again, I've said this 3 times now, but I'm going to say it a 4th time. Kofi and Chris Wright, just really appreciate your opinions when it comes to especially these types of games here. In Royale, I've been told by a number of people, they're like, Mooch, just play Persona 5 Royale. Just play that. And
the reason why it's a 95 on Metacritic.
Yeah, that's right. You know, Chris, you're right. And I don't base Mooch. A lot of things on.
I mean, Mooch.
That's all right, man. Listen, I got to be honest with you. He's right. There's a reason that's 95. And I don't use meta for a lot of things, but the fact that I've seen so many people love that game and talk so highly of that game. And I remember when I was going to play Persona 5, a few people wrote me on Twitter.
And it surpassed 1.2 million, the re-release, right? So the one, so when it re-released a couple months ago on PS5, Xbox, and Switch. You know, because if you combine Persona 5 and Persona 5 vanilla numbers on just the PlayStation by itself, it goes out to over 5 million, right? Closer to almost close to like 6 million and stuff like that. But now, for a re-release, and it came to the other platform, I sold like another 1.2. So for like a JRPG that was like very niche and nobody really knew about it and stuff like that, to now so close to like 7 million, possibly 8 million when it's all said and done. I think that's really, really good. And that's another proof that these games and JRPGs can sell a good amount than before and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people like to tell me that they don't sell as much as they used to, but that's not true anymore.
No, Another thing just to piggyback on, I know that you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber, Mooch. That means you have access to Persona 5 Strikers, which is the actual sequel to the Persona 5 game. Not Persona 5 Royal, but it is a sequel to the core game. And it is great. So the core, scenario with Persona is you're living in one city or one area, and you get to explore the people, and you recruit your team, and you find out about all the supernatural stuff going on. But Strikers, you travel. And I think it's like the one piece from the Persona overall lore that I was missing and that I wanted because of other RPGs that.
And there's no school schedule and because there. And here's the thing: this might turn Mooch. I'm honestly, I'm not sure if you'll be into it because there's a whole like almost like a graphic novel aspects of it because you're going to you got to go to school and you have to do and you're on a schedule and you have to think about what time you spend on doing different things. And if you see certain scheduling or whatever, you can actually fail the game if you don't do the dungeon in time. But you could do a dungeon, do like 2 levels, come back, go, the next day and spend time with somebody to grow their bond so then they can raise their level to get an interesting gameplay mechanic unlocked. So when you go back into the dungeon, there's a lot of things. But to me, it's like the story, the characters, the addictive game. Like, I mean, it really is the whole package for me personally. It has
so why do you last question, why do you guys recommend what is the different, not just why do you recommend, what's the difference between Persona 5, because that I believe Persona 5 I could play is also part of the PS Plus collection or something like that.
Not anymore, they took it off.
Oh, okay, all right,
they did take it out. Yep.
That's okay, but it's what's the difference between 5 and Royale?
So
it's a Game Pass.
Royale is the better game to play because there's a third semester or a third trimester that is added to the end of the original campaign in the base version of Persona 5. But not only that, there's one additional character that's kind of woven into the storyline, and there's like a crazy, twist. I won't say more than that. With this additional character, that I don't think I was not expecting it when I got to that point. But the game is long. Okay, this game. I mean, Chris, I don't know how long it took you. It was at least 115 hours for me. So
it took me 100 because Royal is easy to platinum because you can literally platinum it in one playthrough, and you really got to go out your way to do a lot of extra things, right? So yeah, like my first playthrough Royal took me like 107 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a long game.
Yeah, it's a long, and to me that's what puts some people off.
Yes.
And like, damn, it's intimidating. I'm like, damn, it's like I got all these games coming out, and you tell me to drop another 120 hours, but yeah, Persona 5 Royal adds way more things than, but not just like the extra added story, which to me was like a genius extension of the original game ending and stuff like that, and it was just mind blowing. But they do things like rework some of the dungeons, add a grappling hook so you can get to areas faster than before and things like that. So. And quality of life changes and yeah.
No, that you guys, like I said, and I think Chris kind of nailed it right there. Maybe not this very second because of all the games that are coming out in the next 2 months, but it's definitely on my radar. And I want to say thanks to you guys for that. And you guys, honestly, you guys did a great job. If anybody could sell that game, it would be these two guys. Shout out to Cult Classic Cage. I appreciate her being here. Thank you so much for being here, guys. Honestly, thanks for everybody for being here. What an outstanding night. Great panel, great discussions. Great chat. Shout out again to Kratos99 and all the people that were contributors in the super chat. Shout out again to Ricardo Ortiz, who is subscribed to the channel. I appreciate that. And gave a super chat of $5. And TrueWiddy says, read all the books and watch all the movies. Dream come true. We were talking about Hogwarts. So shout out to TrueWiddy. I appreciate that. And I believe I already read DC Gaming, so I appreciate DC for being here. Moneybags. Royal Boyle 78 says, what's good, CrossFire? Just here to always show my support to my brother Mooch. Hope you all have a great night and weekend. Royal Boyle, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. And Magnum Visuals, I think I missed his. It was young and literally pack a generator, PS5 and VR2, and camp out in the middle of a forest, smell the trees, feel the breeze, and fire up Horizon. Call the mountain. So shout out to Magnum Visuals. Very excited. And Guapzilla, who's here, PSVR2 has more console exclusives content day one than Xbox has had for 2 generations. Hashtag let that sink in. So a couple of hits last minute there. I meant to get to those earlier, but the conversations were going so well in the panel. I really didn't want to disrupt the guys. But thank you guys so much for the super chats. Thanks for being here tonight. And guys, don't forget, The Last of Us is airing as we speak. Episode 5.
Right.
We will be doing.
Yeah, watch that.
Yeah, we will be doing The Last of Us. Okay, reactions episode of 5 on Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be back next Friday here at 7 p.m. Eastern time again for CrossFire. And as soon as I get this last thing settled, I can't wait. We will start Twitch streaming some games, and I can't wait to go back on Twitch. I really, really miss it. That being said, guys, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. I do want to say thanks again to the great Chris Righteous. Chris, can you let people know where they can find you, buddy? And thank you so much for being here tonight. I asked you guys to come for 2 hours, and you stayed for 3. That means the world to me. So, Chris, let people know where they can find you, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, man. Once again, thanks for having me on. It's always a great time. Always great talks when I'm on here. And, shout out to the panel, man. Shout out to my other brothers, Jez and Kofi and everybody in the chat. And, just mainly just on Twitter, man, at Chris Righteous. I do takes, I gameplay clips, spaces. My spaces are very gaming centric. There's really no drama and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of people complain about spaces and stuff like that, but usually my space is a safe space for gamers.
That's correct, Chris.
Stuff like that, respectfully. And we can argue and debate too, get heated arguments or whatever. But there's always, just keeping it gaming. And and Return of the King, May 12th. Tears of the Kingdom, Game of the Year, baby.
Let's go. Absolutely. Chris, great sales pitch on that too. But I'll be there day one for Zelda. Don't you worry. I'll be tweeting it out and you'll see me online. The great Kofi, who's here with us. Kofi, thank you for all your insight, buddy. You bring a lot of wisdom. I would like to really get you back on the show in maybe a few weeks. We'll kind of work the dates out behind the scenes. But thanks for being here tonight, buddy. And let everyone know where they can find you.
Guys, as usual, you can catch me on Twitter, creative_Kofi. I'm trying to talk about imports a lot more. I always have something from Japan that hasn't been released that's on my plate. The next one is the offline version of Dragon Quest X, which was an MMO released on Wii 10 years ago, or 11 years ago now. And just last September, they released it in Japan, and Square Enix is being weird. They don't want to localize it right now. But I want to give people an idea of, is the game even good? So I'll be sharing my takes with that, hopefully sometime before March 3rd, because March 3rd is going to be Wolong, and Wolong is going to be all of March.
Yes, so, that's the game that I want to Twitch stream, but I don't know if my God, that's going to be a funny amount of me dying on there, but nonetheless.
I'm very ready for that, and of course, Octopath Traveler 2 at the end of this month, so definitely stay tuned for that. And I got to be posting some other imports that I haven't even tweeted about much, so look forward to that.
I appreciate that, Kofi. Thank you. And the great Jez 7780. Jez, listen, improv is your specialty, my friend, and you just jumped right in here and took over, and it was phenomenal. So, Jez, let people know where they can find you, and thanks for coming in on such short notice.
Hey, no problem, man. Yeah, I was listening. I was putting the kids to bed. I was like, you know what? Let me get on that VR talk, and then I just stayed for the Activision and all the goodness that followed after that. But yeah, thank you again for the invite. Shout out to Chris and Kofi and the rest of the panel members. You can find me over at Jez7780 Grinds My Gears Gaming Grindhouse on just go to the Gaming Grindhouse on YouTube, and I'm Jez7780 on Twitter there, and you can follow the Gaming Grindhouse every Monday night at 8 p.m. and then the Grinds Gaming Bites as they go across the week. And then I've been streaming a lot of stuff, streamed from Forspoken. I gotta eat something. I'm excited to go watch The Last of Us. Forspoken, and also some of I did the the Hogwarts. So check it out over there, man. And it's the home of the Grinds board, and I'm out, everybody. Thanks again. Hit that like button.
Yes, please, guys. Hit the like button. Hit the follow button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit a button. Shout out to the great Matty Beast. I see you here as well. Mooch is going to go ahead and refill, get a little bit of, I got to eat. I got to eat something. I'm going to eat something, and then I'm going to watch this show. I'm going to watch Last of Us, and then a little Hogwarts. It's going to be great. Nonetheless, guys, have a great weekend. Have a great gaming weekend. We'll see you guys next week. And also, guys, give a shout out to BRAP. BRAP wasn't feeling good, so go ahead and write him. Say, I hope you're feeling better. Shout out to BRAP. Shout out to Gaming Forte, who couldn't make it tonight. Xbot 448, who was working. We'll see all those guys, hopefully, next week at 100%. Until then, guys, enjoy your weekend and good night.